I have kidnapped an alien civilization. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476 System Error. As Chen Shuxian promised, only 2 researchers in the entire Shuxian Center applied for resignation. As Professor Shuxian promised, he made a 10-minute emotional review at the opening ceremony of the new Shuxian and shouted the slogan, "From now on, there will be no factional disputes in the Shuxian Center." The atmosphere of the entire Shuxian Center was completely renewed. The researchers stood in front of the control panel attentively, adjusting the complex buttons from time to time. The huge control panel occupied the entire wall, and the various colored indicator lights on it kept flashing, and there would be a buzzing alarm sound. P1 is ready. Now adjust the antenna elevation angle. The star detector is connected. The power frequency of room 2 is disordered. Please eliminate it quickly. The noisy voices came one after another, and the errors were constantly eliminated. The various colored indicator lights on the control panel gradually turned green, and the alarm sound became less and less. Liam stood by and watched this scene quietly. He couldn't help but marvel at the complexity of the Shuxian system. No wonder the Griffith Observatory didn't dare to try it easily. The sky system has been adjusted and is ready to be connected to the main power supply. The power on test is expected to be completed in 5 minutes. The main operator Chen Shuxian stared at the system panel and reported, "Connect to the main power supply." Professor Shuxian couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The completion of the adjustment of the sky system is equivalent to the success of more than half of the entire transformation plan. Connect to the power supply. Attention everyone. The main operator Chen Shuxian looked serious and gently pressed the red button on the control panel. The complex digital symbols on the large screen jumped rapidly. Buzz! A huge roar came from outside the building. Liam couldn't help but frowned. Is this sound normal? Professor Lee, don't worry. This is the sky system being initialized. Professor Shuxian smiled. He has seen this scene countless times. In the center, all the researchers cast their eyes on the main screen. The complex symbols on the main screen have long been replaced by a blue progress bar. 10%, 20%. Every jump of the progress bar can attract cheers. 80%, 90%. The sky will be successfully started in the next second. The researchers looked nervous and expectant. Liam couldn't help holding his breath. 90%, 90% error. The system is wrong. The researchers in the command center were suddenly in a panic, and the operation of the control panel was also a bit flustered. This made Liam's heart move, and he walked forward and said loudly, "Everyone, stop all operations immediately." The researchers stopped in response and turned around to look at him with a strange look. Chen Shuxian, run the self-check system and find the error code. Liam ordered. Although he didn't understand the system of Shuxian, according to the normal functions of the computer system, when some software has problems, an error code will be generated in the system. Chen Shuxian heard the order and immediately took out a laptop from his backpack, connected it to the EQ interface of Shuxian, and operated it quickly with both hands. After a moment, he looked up and looked unbelievable. "Professor Lee, the error code is 004F01. What does this code mean?" Liam asked anxiously. Chen Shuxian looked strange. According to the maintenance manual, it means that the external connection system is normal, but it cannot be connected to the main program. External connection system and main program? Liam didn't understand these professional terms. The external connection system is responsible for operating the various components of the sky, and the main program is responsible for converting the information received by these components into data and presenting it to us. Generally speaking, it is absolutely impossible for the connection to fail. Chen Shuxian replied. Generally speaking. Liam savored this sentence and immediately said, "Since you know the cause of the error, why don't you eliminate it immediately? The most important thing now is to make the sky start up smoothly. I have tried it just now, and the interface of the main system is locked." Chen Shuxian looked helpless. Locked? Professor Shuxian was shocked. The locking operation of the system must be authorized by the 2 directors. How could it be locked? At this point, He suddenly thought of something, and his face changed. Could it be Leo Wang? At this time, Liemo noticed that a female researcher next to him had a very strange expression on her face. He walked over and asked, "Do you know something?" The female researcher's eyes flickered, and she lowered her head. "Professor Lee, I don't know anything." Jian Kabo stood up from his chair and said seriously, "Niu Meng Meng, this is related to the safety of the Sky Eye. If the lock cannot be lifted within 24 hours, the system will be completely reset. We have to spend half a year debugging and setting various parameters. Is this what you want to see?" Niu Meng Meng's face turned red and her words were panicked. 10 days ago, you were busy debugging the antenna, and Deputy Director Wang ordered me to lock the external port of the main system. All the researchers' faces changed suddenly. Professor Xian said angrily, "This old Wang, doesn't he know the consequences of locking the port? He is committing a crime. I will sue him to the higher authorities." Liemo frowned slightly and asked, "Researcher Niu Meng Meng, when Deputy Director Wang gave you this task, did he ever issue any written documents or leave any evidence to prove that he ordered you to do this?" "No, Deputy Director Wang just called me to the hill next to the center. There, he begged me to sneak into the center's computer room." Niu Meng Meng recalled the whole process with an extremely terrified face. "I know this behavior is inappropriate, but the struggle between Qingdao University and Yan University was very fierce at that time. Deputy Director Wang told me that this was to gain more bargaining chips for Qingdao University. If I didn't do this, we researchers from Qingdao University would definitely be squeezed out of the center." As she said this, tears flowed from her eyes and she cried, "I just thought Professor Wang wanted to teach Professor Xian a lesson, but I didn't expect him to resign." Professor Xian asked with a stern face, "The center clearly stipulates that the operation of the main system must be signed by the two directors. You dared to sneak into the computer room and operate it privately. This is dereliction of duty and a crime." Niu Meng Meng trembled all over, covering her face and crying. This old Xian, didn't he see that the girl was about to collapse? Liemo winked at Jian Kabo, and Jian Kabo immediately understood. "Niu Meng Meng, the incident has already happened. You were also fooled by Professor Wang. The leaders of the center know it well. As long as you enter the password immediately and unlock the lock, I will plead with Professor Lee and Director Xian on your behalf." Jian Kabo stepped forward and said with a smile. Niu Meng Meng cried even louder after hearing this and said intermittently, "I don't have a password. At that time, Professor Wang gave me a mobile password disk." "Mobile password disk?" Liemo asked anxiously. "Where is the password disk now?" "It was taken away by Professor Wang." Chapter 477 Lock. The mobile password disk was taken away by Professor Wang. Niu Meng Meng gave an unacceptable answer. The red arrow on the big screen suddenly became particularly bright. Professor Xian raised his eyebrows and widened his eyes. So, you can't unlock it now?" Niu Meng Meng nodded with sobs. The main system of the Sky was actually conveniently locked by Professor Wang, who had already resigned. This naive researcher has no evidence to prove that this behavior was instructed by Professor Wang. Liemo stood quietly aside and found the scene in front of him a little funny. "Professor Lee, look at this." Professor Xian came over and said helplessly, "Do we need to invite Leo Wang back?" "Oh, hasn't Professor Wang been hired by the Griffith Observatory?" Liemo asked doubtfully. Professor Xian was about to answer when the sobbing girl raised her hand. "Professor Wang didn't leave. I heard that the Griffith Observatory regretted their decision because too few Qingdao University researchers resigned. Yesterday he called me and said he was willing to put aside past grudges and return to the Xianan Center to work hard." Professor Xian sighed. "Niu Meng Meng, call Leo Wang immediately and ask him to come back. Just say that the Xianan Center needs him and I'm willing to give up the position of director." Niu Meng Meng's mood suddenly turned from gloomy to cheerful and she was about to take out her phone. "Wait a minute." Liemo stepped forward and said to Professor Xian with a serious face, "Are you willing to do this?" Although there is no evidence, Professor Wang's behavior has already constituted a crime. Before leaving his post, a deputy director ordered his trusted subordinates to destroy the center's main system. This is a completely morally corrupt behavior. How can such a person become the director of the center? Professor Chen replied helplessly. Professor Lee, I don't want to either, but if the lock cannot be unlocked, the sky will be scrapped. Liemo smiled and said, who said that the lock cannot be unlocked without the password disk? In the command center, more than 30 researchers were shocked at the same time and looked at him with incredible eyes. Professor Chen said in surprise, the mobile password disk uses ease encryption, which is at least 1024 bits of encryption technology. Even if it is forcibly cracked, it will take more than 100 supercomputers running at the same time for 2 years to calculate the password. Do you have a way to crack this password? More than 30 researchers exclaimed in their hearts. Could it be that this big guy in front of them really has such a terrifying computing power? How can we not try it? Liemo smiled and said, you know, Mosey Technology has always had a wide range of research, and there is a password research department that has some experience in cracking passwords. The researchers suddenly realized that Mosey Technology has been expanding wildly in recent years and has attracted a large number of top talents with extremely generous benefits. Maybe they really have a way. Really? Professor Chen was surprised. Liemo smiled and said, how can we know if we don't try? Do you have the heart to let someone like Professor Wang control the Sky Center? Professor Chen took a deep breath and shouted loudly, all researchers at the Sky Center, follow Professor Lee's arrangements and assist Mosey Technology in the cracking work. If you dare to neglect it, I will never tolerate it. The researchers nodded in agreement. Liemo thought this scene was a little funny. Cracking the password is not a big group battle, so it doesn't require so many people. After thinking for a moment, he raised his head and said seriously, Professor Chen, the technology used to crack the password is a secret of Mosey Technology. So, I hope everyone present will leave and turn off the monitoring system. Professor Chen was surprised and said, you want to crack it alone? The researchers were also confused. Although the great scientist in front of them was famous for his intelligence, cracking the password was actually a physical job that required the cooperation of dozens or even hundreds of people. What are you thinking about? I'm not distracted. Liemo smiled and said, I will use the remote system to link the Sky's host to Mosey Technology. Then the professional cracking team in Mosey Technology will take over. Professor Chen suddenly realized and nodded. In that case, let's do it according to your way. Although leaving you here alone does not comply with the center's regulations, your identity is special, and even the higher authorities will not pursue it. After speaking, he waved his hand, and the researchers left the command room one after another. Liemo walked to the window, pulled down the blinds, and when he was sure that the outsiders could not see the situation inside at all, he took a deep breath and took out his mobile phone from his pocket. Click on an icon in the shape of a blooming flower, and a clear and pleasant voice will sound. Master, what do you need Xiaohua's help with? Artificial Intelligence Xiaohua is a professional cracking team, Liemo said to the phone. I need to crack a 1024-bit ease password. Can you do it? On the phone screen, petals fell. To crack a 1024-bit ease password, 1000 billion computing power is required. According to the current computing speed of Xiaohua's chip, it will take at least 10 days to complete the cracking. 100 billion computing power. Liemo didn't expect that the 1024-bit ease password was so complicated that even Xiaohua couldn't crack it within 24 hours. Is it really necessary to ask Professor Wang to come back? Liemo absolutely couldn't accept such a result. He pondered for a long time and finally sighed. Xiaohua, now I grant you temporary full authority. Master, what do you want? The artificial intelligence Xiaohua showed some emotional fluctuations. Liemo nodded heavily. Have fun, leave that iron box, and draw energy from every corner of the world. He has always believed that artificial intelligence is a double-edged sword. Since Xiaohua was born, he has been trapped in heavy shackles. Now the earth may be destroyed. It's time to let this poor little girl enjoy a wonderful life. Yes. Xiaohua replied mischievously. Master, you are so kind. Connect to the sky system now. Liemo glanced at his watch. There were less than 10 hours left before the sky system was reset. He immediately handed over the central authority of the sky to Xiaohua. On the big screen, the bright red arrow gradually disappeared, and a blue flower bud slowly emerged. Detecting the sky system Xiaohua has completely taken Control of the sky. Warning. Abnormal communication detected. Abnormal communication has been terminated, and the initiator of abnormal communication is being tracked down. The other party's physical IP address is host number 061 of the Griffith Observatory, and it is being forcibly invaded. Invasion successful. Downloading confidential files. Liemo was shocked. He didn't expect that the enemy had already planted a Trojan horse in the sky system. If it weren't for Xiaohe, the consequences would be unpredictable. The confidential file has been downloaded. After searching, an abnormal audio message was found. Liemo couldn't wait to say, "Play it immediately." A conversation between two men came from the speaker. "Foreign man, since you didn't complete Griffith's task, all previous agreements are invalid." Chinese man, "Emma, this incident was completely an accident. I didn't expect those Qingdao researchers to be able to withstand the temptation of money." Foreign man, "The organization only looks at the results. Because of your failure, Griffith Observatory had to abandon the New Sky project. You wait to be punished by the organization." The Chinese man replied in horror, "No, don't send those people. I'm still useful. I have already planted a nail in the sky system. Maybe soon, I will be able to take charge of the sky center again." And then, the recording was interrupted here. Chapter 478 Computing Power. The people who organized the plan. The phone recording revealed many key points. It was obvious that Emma threatened Professor Wang on the phone, that he would send someone to punish him. In order to protect himself, Professor Wang had to throw out the conspiracy that had been planned long ago. Liemo sighed. He originally thought that Professor Wang was going to join a foreign observatory just for money. Now it seems that Professor Wang may have already become a member of a secret organization. Thinking of this, he ordered, "Xiaohe, send all confidential documents back to Mosey Technology." The blue flower bud on the big screen swayed slightly. The transmission has been completed, and the computing power is being collected now. The broiler plan is starting. Ding dong. Supercomputer Pisdane joins the computing pool, and the computing power increases to 1%. Ding dong. Supercomputer Jiaokao joins the computing pool, and the computing power increases to 2%. Ding dong. Supercomputer Sequoia joins the computing pool, and the computing power increases to 80%. Liemo was shocked. In order to collect enough computing power, Xiaohe was actually going to use the world's most powerful supercomputer as a broiler. Pisdane Jiaokao Sequoia are all among the top 500 supercomputers in the world. Once this invasion is discovered, the consequences will be unimaginable. Maybe Xiaohe should be stopped from doing this. Liemo, who has always been cautious, is a little worried. But then he thought that the Earth might be destroyed and everything would turn to ashes. What if it was exposed? He suppressed his anxiety and watched Xiaohe convert most of the world's supercomputers into broilers. Ding dong. Supercomputer K computer joins the computing pool, and the computing power increases to 100% on the big screen. The blue flower buds bloomed completely. The computing power has been collected, and the calculation is starting now. The estimated time is 5 hours. Lawrence Livermore Supercomputing Center. Pete, how long will it take to calculate the data we need? Rami Woods is a researcher at United Chemical. He has been in Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory for a full 10 days this time, just to use the supercomputer here, to calculate a data in the cracking reaction. Rami, didn't you see the progress bar on the fat baby? Pete was immersed in the cartoons on his phone, not even looking up. If we weren't old acquaintances, you would have to stay in the hotel and wait for the results. Rami Woods pushed open the glass door of the laboratory, squeezed in through the gap, took out an envelope from his bag, and handed it over. Pete looked at the envelope in front of him, was stunned for a moment, and quickly swept the envelope into the drawer. Don't do this next time, there are too many surveillance cameras here. After saying that, he stood up and quickly operated on the control panel next to him, and said proudly, "Surveillance deletion." That's it. Rami Wood's face was full of smiles. Who makes us old friends? Hey, juice or mineral water? Pete took out 2 bottles from the freezer in the corner and handed them over. Juice. Rami Woods took it and asked in confusion, "Pete, the supercomputer shows that the completion rate is 99.9%. How much time will it take?" Pete opened the system background, took a look, and replied, "You can return to the west in at most 1 hour. It is still 4 hours before noon. If we leave in an hour and catch the 9 o'clock flight, we should be able to return to the factory with the data before noon, and we can carry out the next research in the afternoon." Rami Woods calculated the time and stared at the big screen of the supercomputer. An hour later, Rami Woods found that the progress displayed on the big screen was still 99.9%. He walked up to Pete and asked in confusion, "Pete, 1 hour has passed. Why hasn't the calculation been completed yet?" Pete raised his head and replied impatiently, "The supercomputer is responsible for the calculation, and it is normal to have a delay in progress." Rami Woods had to suppress his anxiety and wait patiently. 2 hours later, the progress was 99.9%. 2 hours later, the progress was 99.9%. 5 hours later, the progress was 99.9%. Rami Woods could no longer stand and said anxiously, "Pete, is your fat baby broken?" Only then did Pete reluctantly put down his phone, stood up and walked to the mainframe, and entered a long string of complex commands. The progress bar on the big screen quickly turned into a complex curve graph. It shouldn't be. The supercomputer core utilization rate graph shows that the fat baby is currently doing its best to calculate. Pete touched his head and said puzzledly, "According to the calculation of computing power, the results should have come out long ago. Is it really broken?" As he said, he called up the real-time thread graph of the supercomputer system, took a closer look, and was shocked. "Oh no, an abnormal process has occurred." He hurried to the desk and pressed a red button. A sharp alarm sounded in the laboratory, and several researchers with heavy bags under their eyes rushed into the mainframe room. "Pete, what's going on?" the bearded man in the lead asked with wide eyes in surprise. Peter pointed at the data on the big screen and said, "Supervisor, Fatty has an abnormal process. I suspect someone has hacked into it." The bearded man glanced at the big screen, turned around and ordered, "Start the super firewall immediately and get the security personnel in place." The super firewall has been started. Peter quickly typed a command on the console and quickly pressed enter. Everyone looked at the big screen at the same time, and the abnormal process on the big screen was still jumping. "The super firewall has failed," the bearded man shouted in shock, with big drops of sweat dripping from his forehead. "What should we do now?" The researchers, who were horrified, cast their eyes on him. "Does it really need to physically disconnect the network?" The bearded man hesitated. Once the network was physically disconnected, all the data in the server might be damaged. Those long-awaited computing tasks would inevitably be delayed, and the loss of the supercomputing center would be too great. Just as he was hesitating, two pale young men hurried into the main computer room. "Balorik, it's good that you're here." The bearded man seemed to have seen a savior, and was surprised. "Fat baby has been hacked. You should use your control authority immediately to plug the loophole." Balorik is a computer expert recruited by the laboratory. It is said that he was once a famous figure in the international hacker community. Because he was accidentally caught by the investigation bureau, he had to turn over a new leaf and make meritorious contributions. Balorik ignored him and took out a notebook from his backpack and connected it to the network cable. After a crackling operation, a series of flashing codes appeared on the notebook screen. "This," Balorik said with a solemn face and hesitantly, "now the absolute control of Fat Baby is in the hands of the other party." "How is this possible?" the bearded man asked in surprise. Balorik put away the notebook and said expressionlessly, "I'm sorry, I can't do anything about this invasion." As he said that, he carried his backpack and left directly without looking at everyone. "You," the bearded man sighed, "immediately disconnect the network physically." Pete hurriedly ran to an orange button and was about to press it. "Wait. Don't panic." Rami Woods suddenly pointed at the big screen and shouted, "Look, has that abnormal process disappeared?" Although he was not proficient in computer technology, he knew who was the culprit of the supercomputer anomaly from what had just happened. The bearded man immediately came to the big screen and found that, as Rami said, the strange process that occupied 99% of the computing power had disappeared. "Supervisor, is the network still connected?" Pete's hand was still on the orange button. The bearded man shook his head. "It's not disconnected. Maybe this is the spontaneous behavior of the superbrain." After all, the programs are becoming more and more intelligent now. After this calculation is completed, let the center conduct a comprehensive safety check on Fatty Baby. The inexplicable machine magically returned to normal. The same situation has appeared in more than 100 supercomputer centers around the world. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479 Detection. China, Sky Command Center. Liemo sat in a chair, anxiously looking forward to the final result. On the big screen, the blue flower bloomed completely, and a crisp and pleasant voice came from the speaker. Ding dong, the calculation has been completed, and the locked port has been unlocked. At the same time, I re-optimized the Sky system. Liemo stood up suddenly, and breathed a sigh of relief. The last obstacle was finally removed. He smiled and said, "Thank you, Zionotha." "It's okay, Master." Zionotha's timid voice came from the speaker. "Exit the Sky system immediately." Liemo thought for a moment and added, "Upload the collected phone recordings to the social network." He didn't have time to deal with these broken things now, so he left Professor Wang's actions to the public to judge. Understood. The blue flower on the big screen nodded, and then disappeared without a trace. Liemo turned around and opened the door of the command center and found Jian Kabo sitting on a bench in the corridor with his head down, thinking about something. When Jian Kabo saw him, he immediately became alert and stepped forward. "Professor Lee, is the problem solved?" Liemo smiled and nodded. "Notify Professor Shine immediately and continue the debugging work." Wow. Jian Kabo jumped up and turned to run to the office. After 3 days of working day and night, the researchers at the Xiaonan Center finally completed the debugging work 2 days ahead of schedule. In the command center, everyone's eyes were staring at the big screen nervously. On the big screen, bright spots gradually appeared. The moon, Venus, Jupiter, asteroid belt. Great. According to statistics, the sensitivity of the Xiaonan has increased by at least 200%. Now it can directly identify some tiny meteorites. Professor Xian looked at the celestial bodies scanned by the Xiaonan on the big screen, stood up excitedly, and walked to Liemo. "Professor Lee, thank you very much for your help." Liemo smiled and said, "This is mutual assistance. We at Mosey Technology are still counting on the Sky to detect the meteorite." Professor Xian suddenly realized and turned around and ordered, "Immediately aim the center of the Sky at the position between the 3 body galaxies and conduct an all-round scan." Received. Operate immediately. Outside the center of the Sky, a large round part with a diameter of 500 meters was slowly adjusting its angle and aiming the center point at the direction of Centaurus. Billions of cosmic rays that are invisible to the naked eye penetrate the barrier of the atmosphere, are captured by the round pot, and then reflected to the central receiver. The receiver with a flashing signal light analyzes these rays in real time and then obtains the result data. In the command center, Liemo was concentrating on the results displayed on the big screen. The results showed that there was nothing in that star field. "Professor Lee, you can see that there is no meteorite in that direction." Professor Shine whispered, "Did you make a mistake at Mosey Technology? After all, it is normal to make mistakes in astronomical observations." Liemo frowned, his heart full of doubts. Why can't the Sky detect the spacecraft that can be detected by the cosmic quantum wave detection? According to his modification design, the modified Sky has the ability to detect small meteorites 1 light year away. Maybe he stood up with a thought in his mind. "Professor Shan, order the operator to increase the frequency of the Sky to the maximum." Professor Cheyenne looked puzzled, but still obeyed the order. "Adjust the frequency to 10 WGHz, and pay attention to the operating status of the Sky. 10 WGHz adjustment completed. Rescanning in progress." Jian Kabo also stood up. The main server of the Sky made a buzzing sound, and Liemo knew that this over-limit state could not last too long. He stared at the big screen, shouting in his heart, "Hurry up, the damn Greystar battleship will appear soon." Ding, 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 ding. A red light appeared on the big screen and began to flash. Is this the meteorite you are looking for? Professor Xian's eyes widened, and he immediately ordered, let the sky unlock it, and collect detailed data. It finally appeared. Liemo clenched his fists, and stood up from the chair. Professor Xian, I need to know everything about this meteorite, its location, size, trajectory, speed, and even mass. Professor Xian nodded heavily. Don't worry, since it has appeared, it can't escape the attention of the Sky Eye. At this time, a slim girl with cool clothes walked into the command center with a cup of hot tea. The girl exuded the fragrance of orchids all over her body. She walked straight to Liemo and stared at her big watery eyes. Professor Lee, please have some tea. Isn't this girl the NIU Meng Meng who made a mistake? Why is she still staying in the Sky Center? Liemo took the cup of water hesitantly and cast a puzzled look at Professor Xian. Professor Xian smiled awkwardly. Professor Lee, Comrade NIU Meng Meng was just deceived, and she is essentially a good comrade. Yesterday she deeply reviewed her mistakes to me. For such comrades, should we? NIU Meng Meng raised her bright red lips, looking as pitiful as a tearful rainflower. Liemo knew that this was to force the emperor to abdicate. He sighed silently in his heart, thought for a moment, and smiled. Professor Xian, this is a private matter of your Xianan Center, and I, an outsider, will not get involved. NIU Meng Meng, why don't you thank Professor Lee for his generosity? Professor Xian immediately smiled and winked. NIU Meng Meng shook her body and said delicately, Professor Lee, thank you. I will work hard in the future. Liemo slowly turned his head. Ding, 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 ding. A hurried voice sounded in the command room. Professor Wang, Professor Lee. Jian Keibo shouted in surprise. The results are out, and Xianan has given specific information about the unknown meteorite. Liemo immediately put down the water cup and walked behind Jian Keibo. A message was displayed on the big screen. Distance 40,163 AU. Volume 65,890 m3. Moving speed 200,000 km/s. Position coordinates 25658741 3114760 1224566. Liemo immediately recognized that this message was almost identical to the information of the Greystar battleship detected by the Cosmic Quantum Wave Monitor. Except that the distance between it and the Earth was shorter and the speed was much lower. Could it be that the Greystar battleship had already discovered the Earth and entered the deceleration phase in advance? Liemo pondered this possibility. 200,000 kilometers per second. Professor Xian stared at the big screen and said in surprise, the speed of this meteorite is too high. Generally, the speed of wandering meteorites in the solar system is only a few thousand kilometers per second, and the volume is as high as more than 60,000 cubic meters. Such a volume already meets the standard of a medium-sized meteorite. Why haven't those foreign orbital telescopes discovered it? Liemo smiled and said, maybe the material of this meteorite is more complicated. The target light collected by the orbital telescope is much less than the big bowl of the Sky Eye. He is now like a person who has peeked at the bottom card. He has to pretend that he knows nothing and guide the people around him. Professor Xian nodded slowly. That makes sense. Jian Keibo, how long will it take to draw the orbit? Jian Keibo glanced at the progress displayed on the computer and reported, it will take at least 10 hours. And what? Professor Xian asked. Don't hesitate. Jian Keibo turned around and said puzzledly, the speed of this meteorite seems to be decreasing, but the specific data needs to be completed after the orbit is drawn before the result can be obtained. The meteorite is slowing down. Professor Xian shook his head and said, how is this possible? As he said that, he looked up at Liemo, his eyes flickering. Professor Lee, since it will take so long, why don't I treat you to a meal of Yunnan special dishes? Chapter 480 Fear. In the dark universe, a spaceship that looks like a big crab, with a red light trailing behind it, quietly appeared in a starfield less than 1 light year away from the solar system. I feel a surge of energy from the sun. In front of the transparent window, Greystar Elder slowly opened his eyes revealing endless vicissitudes. The solar system should be not far away. Behind him, a stalker with fangs and horns on his head glanced at the communicator in his hand and replied, "Elder, we have successfully passed through a 3-star system and are less than 1 light year away from the solar system. According to your order, before you fell asleep, the spaceship has now entered the deceleration phase and is expected to reach the blue planet in 10 months. Greystar Elder shook off the dust on his body, sat up from the freezer, and pressed the red button next to him with his sharp claws. A sharp and piercing alarm sounded immediately. A moment later, more than a dozen stalkers with fangs and horns on their heads appeared in front of him. "Congratulations, Elder, for your safe return." They bent down, raised their paws, and shouted loudly. Elder Greystar looked depressed, his big copper bell-like eyes rolling around. What's there to be happy about? If Greystar was still there, every dormant Greystar person would be able to return safely, instead of now. At this point, he seemed to have thought of something, and asked in confusion, "Why are there only a few Greystar people in the entire spacecraft? Before I remember falling asleep, there were at least 215 Greystar people." As soon as these words came out, more than a dozen pioneers were shocked, and their faces showed horror. The Greystar man behind him sighed. "Elder, this spaceship is more dilapidated than you expected. In order to repair the area hit by the meteorite, we had to make several sacrifices. A total of more than 200 Greystar people sacrificed their precious lives for glory." The Greystar Elder stood up, looked at the starry sky outside the window, and muttered to himself, "We are the last Greystar people. Are we really going to be wiped out? Cold and indifferent universe, why do you give hope to us abandoned people, and then cruelly deprive us of it?" After speaking, he turned around, and a cold look reappeared on his face. "Lerek, how much material reserves are there on the entire spacecraft now?" The Greystar man named Lerek replied, "Including you, there are 16 Greystar men, more than 10,000 Lowlands, a Star Destroyer shell, and food and water that can only meet 5 months of normal consumption." Hearing that Lerek also counted himself in the material reserves, the Greystar Elder was not angry. His big copper bell-like eyes rolled around. "If these more than 10,000 Lowlands are used as consumables, can they last for another 10 months? Lerek took a step back. "Elder, we were on Lowland Star, and under the cover of the Lowlands, we escaped the brutal pursuit of the Pajero people. These Lowlands are our saviors. How can you?" Before he finished speaking, a huge claw appeared in front of him, and his eyes went black. "Snap, pedant." The Greystar Elder waved his arm, and knocked Lerek to the ground fiercely. "Have you forgotten the meaning of our existence? Have you forgotten the deep hatred of hundreds of billions of Greystar people?" More than a dozen Greystar pioneers in the room took a step back, revealing a look of fear. Lerek got up from the ground in a panic, lowering his head. "Elder, at this distance, we can launch a Star Destroyer cannon and directly blow that blue star into pieces. Why spend another 10 months? The Greystar Elder stretched out his sharp claws and carved a deep wound on Lerek's face, and light blue blood flowed out. He stretched out his long tongue and licked the blue blood on his claws, revealing an intoxicated expression. "Lerek, you have been hibernated and reborn 10 times, right?" Lerek conjured the pain brought by the facial wound and lowered his head to answer. "Yes, I'm the 100th generation of Greystar people, and I have safely passed 7,000 years so far. What does it feel like to be reborn each time?" The Greystar Elder licked his claws greedily. Lerek frowned. "Except for the first time, when I transformed from carbon-based to silicon-based, my body felt abnormal pain. The remaining 99 times, I didn't feel anything. Every time I went into the hibernation chamber to sleep, and I regained my youth, after I came back to life." Elder Greystar put down his claws with an unsatisfied look inside. "Our hibernation is equivalent to the death of carbon-based creatures. Death is not terrible. What is terrible is the fear of facing the approaching death." "Fear?" Lerek asked puzzledly. "What kind of feeling is this? Is it more terrible than pain?" Elder Greystar felt that his legs, which had been used for more than 10,000 years, were a little tired. He slowly sat down on a metal chair, looked at those puzzled faces, and explained. "It's terrible. When carbon-based creatures face death, they will feel 10,000 times more painful than cutting off their arms. This despairing feeling is something that nitrogen-based creatures like us with eternal life cannot experience. If there is any feeling, that can be compared. It is probably the only feeling I had when I learned from the communicator that Grey Star was destroyed by the brutal Pajero people. Do you still remember that feeling? Elder Grey Star could not help but recall the scene at that time. He had just completed a routine transport and was enjoying those incomprehensible performances in the entertainment venues of Lowland Star. Suddenly, a shocking picture appeared on the big screen in the sky. An extremely huge planet was pulled apart by two stars and then fell into the surface of the star and turned into a ball of fire. This ball of fire burned the lives of hundreds of billions of Grey Star people. This planet is Grey Star. Homes were destroyed. Hundreds of billions of Grey Star people turned into ashes, and a great pain surged from his heart. As a VIP, Elder Grey Star fell off his chair on the spot. Recalling the scene at that time, Lyric had an expression he had never had before on his face. That feeling was like being chopped into pieces by thousands of sharp blades. It's been more than 7,000 years, and every time I think of the scene at that time, I can't help but tremble all over. This is probably the feeling of pain. The Grey Star Elder raised his head and looked around with his copper bell-like eyes. According to the information obtained from the Great Endless Void, there is a fragile carbon-based creature living on the Blue Star, and their level of civilization is less than level 1. Although we are only driving a transport ship, with the help of star destroyers and light wave shields, the Blue Star people will definitely not pose any threat to the spacecraft. Now you understand why we must approach the Blue Star in person, right? Lyric raised his head. You want to put them in fear? The Grey Star Elder laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. I will let the Blue Star people go to death in fear. Let them taste what we Grey Star people once felt. Understood. Lyric raised his claws and saluted with a Grey Star military salute. I'll go and turn those Lowland people into supplies. After that, he led more than 10 Grey Star people out of the command room. The Grey Star Elder looked at their backs as they left and sneered. There are still 10 months to go. The Crab spaceship flew silently in the dark universe, and the blue planet 0.7 light years away was still a scene of decadence and extravagance. Chapter 481 Fanning. Huago, Yanda, 5th canteen at noon. A group of students who had just finished a game sat at the dining table, struggling with the food on their plates. Look, the TV is broadcasting the match between Real Madrid and Barcelona. A fair-skinned boy with short hair pointed at the TV hanging on the wall and said his discovery in surprise. Hey, it's really a live football broadcast. Another boy said puzzledly, isn't there a news program every noon? It seems that Real Madrid is still so attractive that even the aunt in the canteen can't help it. TSK, it should be because of Barcelona. In a global survey, Messi is the most popular among middle-aged women. The students simply put down their plates and stood in front of the TV to discuss a question that will never have a standard answer. Real Madrid and Barcelona, which team is the strongest? The TV screen turned, and the dozen football stars who were running on the green lawn just now were replaced by a female host in a pink professional skirt in the studio. Change the channel? No. Didn't you see the station logo in the upper right corner? This is breaking news. Something big must have happened. At this time, the students who were dining in the restaurant also gathered around. Hello, friends in front of the TV. Now we have an urgent news. The female host smiled and announced in standard Mandarin, in a routine deep space scan, my country's Xianan Center discovered a wandering meteorite whose orbit is suspected to be intertwined with the Earth's orbit. This meteorite is expected to appear near the Earth in 10 months. Currently, researchers at the Xianan Center are keeping a close eye on the movement of the wandering meteorite. Please don't panic. After saying that, the screen flashed and switched back to the game. This was a news report so short that only the headline remained. There was no real-time picture or interview picture from the Xianan Center. Logically, for such a major discovery, the discoverer of the meteorite would be interviewed in all directions, from his outstanding performance in kindergarten to the first time he looked into space with a telescope. Why are today's reporters so obedient? The students of Yanda University immediately thought of a wise saying in the news industry, the simpler the news, the bigger the matter. The crowd of onlookers suddenly lost interest in watching the football game and took out their mobile phones to search for information about stray meteorites. Alert, stray meteorites are hitting the Earth directly. On Weibo, a blog post with the most comments attracted everyone's attention. Hello, everyone. I'm a researcher at the Xianan Center. Under the leadership of Professor Li Mo, the center carried out a large-scale renovation project. During the first routine scan of the renovated Xianan, it was accidentally discovered that a stray meteorite was flying straight to the Earth at a speed of 200,000 kilometers per hour. This meteorite was named Apocalypse. Its trajectory is a straight line. According to the speed, it is speculated that the meteorite will hit the Earth within 10 months. The trajectory of a stray meteorite is actually a straight line. Its speed is as high as 200,000 kilometers per hour. This is not a meteorite, it is simply a cannonball. The students of Yanda University did not doubt the authenticity of the blog post, because according to the Weibo dynamics of Professor Li Mo, he was working at the Xianan Center during this period. Could this really be a super projectile launched by aliens at the Earth? China Sky Center, this is definitely not a super projectile. Li Mo said confidently to the doubtful researchers, we can find from the time-lapse data that the speed of Apocalypse is decreasing. What does this mean? He raised his head and looked at Jian Keibo, who was frowning. Me. Jian Keibo was very surprised when he was called. Although he was a researcher at the Sky Center, he had not done in-depth research on meteorites. However, he was personally called by Professor Li Mo. What an honor. He had an idea and blurted out, Apocalypse may not be a stray meteorite, but a spaceship. This would explain why it is not affected by the gravity of the big planet and actually slows down. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a little regretful. What an idiotic answer this was, so he could only add weakly, of course, this is just my random guess. Li Mo smiled and said, it makes some sense. If Apocalypse is an alien warship, it can explain all the abnormal phenomena. For example, why is its trajectory a straight line? Professor Shan, who was standing next to them, heard the conversation between the two and was horrified. He couldn't help but sit on the chair. This can't be true, right? No, this can't be true. When humans hear an answer they don't want to believe, even if the answer is completely correct, their first reaction is still to deny, firmly deny. Li Mo looked at him and smiled. Of course, this is just a possibility. But doesn't this possibility just solve the doubts of mankind? Aren't they always curious about whether there are alien civilizations in space? Even when they just learned to launch satellites, they instilled various languages into a CD and launched it into the universe with a rocket. Now I want to see if they will still be so happy when they really face alien civilizations. Professor Cheyenne looked at him in amazement. Professor Lee, have you discovered the abnormality of this meteorite a long time ago? Oh no, I was too excited just now and told the secret that I shouldn't have told. Li Mo adjusted his facial muscles and answered sincerely, of course not. When the meteorite was discovered, Mosey technology only caught a trace. I didn't expect it to be so strange. At this time, Jian Keibo's mobile phone made a buzzing sound. He took a quick look, walked up and whispered, Professor Lee, the information about the straight trajectory and speed of 200,000 kilometers of Apocalypse was posted on Weibo. Now there are foreign observatories asking me to verify the authenticity of the information. According to Li Mo's disclosure plan, after detecting the stray meteorite, the Xianan Center will release some facts to the outside world to attract the attention of the international astronomical community. Then, they will definitely conduct a detailed detection of the meteorite. So in the press release sent to the national television station, he deliberately concealed the trajectory and speed of the meteorite. Unexpectedly, it seems that this blogger is a researcher at our Xianan Center, otherwise she would not know so much detail. Jian Keibo frowned and analyzed. Heh. Li Mo raised his head and looked at Professor Shan. Old Shan, is Comrade Niu Meng at work today? Professor Shan's eyes rolled around, looking embarrassed. She was not feeling well today and asked for leave from me this morning. Jian Keibo couldn't help but say, you mean, this blog post was written by Niu Meng? Even if it wasn't her, it's almost certain, but it doesn't matter. The most important thing now is to get those foreign observatories to join in, so as to attract global attention. When everyone adds fuel to the fire, maybe some superhero will come forward in times of crisis. Liemo smiled and said, "There's no time to pursue such trivial matters." He bypassed Professor Xian and directly ordered Jian Cabo, "You immediately send an information notice to major observatories around the world and send all the data over." Jian Cabo nodded and left the command room. Liemo walked up to Professor Xian with a grim expression. "Old Xian, we need to talk." Chapter 482 Apocalypse. In Pennsylvania, Apacos SP District, starting block number 16. On the wall of a white building in the shape of a sailboat, there is a plaque with the words JWST Telescope Ground Command Center. A black Mustang sports car roared through the long raised gate and drove straight to the lobby of the white building. A middle-aged man who had been waiting for a long time hurried forward to greet him. The sadness on his face disappeared, and hope flashed in his eyes. "Professor Aziz, you are finally here." An old man in a neat suit and gold-rimmed glasses opened the car door and handed over his briefcase. "Director Kuma, what's so urgent? How dare you disturb my rest at 12 o'clock in the middle of the night?" Kuma took the briefcase and made a gesture of invitation. "Professor, let's talk while walking." Professor Aziz looked puzzled and walked into the white sailboat building. Could it be that the JWST telescope in space has malfunctioned? Immediately, he denied this idea. "It's impossible. We just conducted a routine inspection on it last week." Professor Aziz is one of the most famous astronomers in the world. He once accurately calculated the orbit of the asteroid Poverty_012 and is also the chief scientist of the Ground Command Center of the JWST telescope. As an astronomer, his biggest feeling is that the object he studies is very far away from the Earth, and it is difficult to affect real life. The phrase emergency does not exist in the work of astronomers, because the stars have been hanging in the sky for billions of years. They will not suddenly change their positions, unless a stray meteorite suddenly breaks into the solar system. Professor Aziz stopped and widened his eyes. "Director Kuma, did you find a stray meteorite?" Director Kuma smiled bitterly. "If it was a meteorite, I would not be so anxious to invite you here." "Not a meteorite?" Professor Aziz asked doubtfully. "Is it an alien spaceship?" Director Kuma looked slightly stunned and sighed. "I don't know how to describe it. You will understand when you see it." In the hall of the JWST Command Center, the high brightness LED light array illuminated the entire hall, as if it were daytime. Hundreds of staff members in blue uniforms stared at the screen that was the size of the entire wall with nervous expressions. "Professor Aziz is here." The director actually invited the professor here. It seems that the matter is serious. The appearance of Professor Aziz attracted the whispers of the staff. He ignored such discussions and went straight to the big screen. A red dot of light flashed on the 500-inch screen. What is this? Professor Aziz did not think that a dot of light was worth studying. Director Kuma waved to the JWST telescope operator, who waved his hands on the keyboard. A straight line appeared on the big screen, and at the end of the line was a blue planet. A line of description appeared next to the red light spot. Distance: 40,003 astronomical units. Volume: 65,890 m3. Moving speed: 190,000 km/s. Position coordinates: 25658741 3114310 122231. Orbit: straight line. Professor Aziz widened his eyes, looking incredulous. "Is this the meteorite you found?" "No, it's impossible. No meteorite can reach such a high speed, and there is no celestial body with a straight orbit in the universe." Director Kuma shook his head and said, "This strange meteorite was first discovered by China's Sky Center. It is said that Professor Liemo was also present at the time." "Professor Liemo?" Professor Aziz asked anxiously. "Professor Liemo of Mosey Technology. What does he think of this meteorite?" The name Liemo had spread all over the world when he became the first person to land on Mars. Professor Aziz was very puzzled at the time. Why would a mathematics professor go to Mars instead of studying mathematics properly? Out of curiosity, he studied the life trajectory of this Chinese genius. Unlike previous geniuses who had already emerged in their youth, Liemo had been mediocre before high school, until Liemo suddenly solved a difficult mathematical problem. Since then, it was like turning on a plug-in. His research fields involved physics, biology, chemistry, mathematics, and astronomy. Every time he stepped into a field, Liemo always achieved breakthrough research results. Each of his achievements is enough for a scientist to be honored for a lifetime. Professor Az is deeply sighed that the geniuses in the world should be divided into two categories. One is Professor Liemo, and the other is other geniuses. Originally, he still doubted the authenticity of this strange meteorite, but when he heard Professor Liemo's name, this doubt disappeared instantly. Professor Liemo named it Apocalypse. Director Kuma replied with a serious face. Apocalypse? Professor Azis exclaimed. Could it be the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse? The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse first appeared in the last book of the New Testament, Revelation, representing the four major signs of the end of the world and the coming of the Day of Judgment. These four horsemen of the Apocalypse are the first four seals of the seven seals before the Last Judgment. Once they are unsealed one by one and come to the world, the curtain of the Day of Judgment will be opened. Director Kuma replied, maybe. The apocalypse that Professor Liemo is talking about is the apocalypse in Chinese. In Chinese, apocalypse is the reign title of an emperor of the Ming dynasty. He hated government affairs and was also an excellent carpenter. Of course, apocalypse has another meaning in Chinese, that is, inspiration from heaven. Director Kuma once studied Chinese culture in depth. Inspiration from heaven. Professor Azis savored it carefully. This should be the interpretation. This meteorite is not a meteorite, but an alien spaceship. It comes with destruction. Director Kuma pointed to the big screen and said, I have the same idea as you. Only enemies will come uninvited. So, I would like to ask you to issue a red alert to the White House immediately. This is the real reason why he invited Professor Azis to come. Only by relying on the professor's reputation, the officials in the White House will pay attention to this matter. Professor Azis stared at the red light on the big screen and nodded heavily. If this is really an alien spaceship, we must act immediately. As he said, he turned and walked out. I will go to the White House immediately. You immediately contact major observatories around the world and ask them what they have found. And he stopped and pondered for a moment. Facing an alien spaceship with the ability to cross galaxies, the human beings on Earth have no chance of winning. You personally contact Professor Liemo in China. We need a leader. Chapter 483 Boss. It all depends on you. Shock. Alien warships are heading straight for the Earth. Destruction. Professor Liemo warns humanity. European Space Agency President Esperanza visits China in person. Humanity may be extinct in 10 months. More than 50 international observatories collectively call on Professor Liemo to immediately set up a response agency. In the bathroom, Fang Lanshan squatted on the toilet and turned on his mobile phone, ready to enjoy a beautiful morning. But a series of terrifying news headlines appeared on the news website. He was shocked. As a former rocket design expert, Fang Lanshan was naturally familiar with the foreign observatories that appeared in the news reports. So many observatories have confirmed the authenticity of the alien spacecraft, so things are serious. Fang Lanshan squatted on the toilet and made the first call of the day. Beep. Hello, this is Liemo. A tired voice came from the other end of the phone. Fang Lanshan asked anxiously, Boss, are the reports in the news true? You found an alien spaceship in space? In his impression, this young boss is very good at doing big things. After the Zirong plan, he did not propose a new plan abnormally. Instead, he became interested in transforming the sky eye and stayed in the mountains all day. I thought the researchers of Mosey Technology could relax for a while, but I didn't expect that he actually found an alien spaceship with the transformed sky eye. Yes. Liemo replied in a depressed mood. After 3 days of detailed observation, the Sky Center has completely confirmed that this is an alien spaceship. As a professional scientist, Fang Lanshan would never believe that this alien spaceship came to the Earth from billions of miles away to send warmth. Maybe the boss will have a way, then what should we do? He asked hurriedly. Wait. Liemo said and hung up the phone directly. Fang Lanshan was stunned holding the phone. What does waiting mean? Waiting for the arrival of the alien spaceship, we raise our hands to welcome it? Or wait for the boss to come up with a solution? Liemo's ambiguous words made Fang Lanshan, who was squatting on the toilet, fall into deep thought. Lanshan, are you not ready yet? Breakfast is ready. There was a knock on the door from his wife. Fang Lanshan came to his senses and stood up. On the dark green slate dining table, there was a plate of buns in the shape of a little white rabbit, 3 bowls of porridge, and a plate of green vegetables. The daughter, who was wearing the uniform of Mosey Science and Technology Primary School, was chewing a little white rabbit with big mouthfuls, and she made a sound of delicious. Delicious from time to time. Fang Lanshan was very pleased to see this scene. When he just returned to China, his wife didn't know how to cook, and his daughter didn't eat Chinese food, so they had to eat at fast food restaurants every day. After only a few years, his wife, who had never touched the water of spring, could actually pinch buns in the shape of a little white rabbit, and his daughter showed extreme love for the traditional Chinese food, buns. ZORUI, don't just eat buns, eat more green vegetables, so that your hair braids will be black. The wife picked up a green vegetable with chopsticks and put it in her daughter's bowl. Mom, I don't like vegetables. You have to eat them. A breakfast war is about to break out. Fang Lanshan smiled and shook his head, turning on the TV. Hello, dear audience friends. According to the prediction of the Xiaonan Center and Professor Liemo, apocalypse will arrive on Earth within 10 months. The morning news was playing on TV. Although Professor Liemo did not give a definite answer as to whether apocalypse is a meteorite or an alien spacecraft. But according to the information leaked by the Xiaonan Center, it is very likely to be a spacecraft of an advanced civilization. Fang Lanshan hurriedly picked up the remote control to change the channel. This is Yanjing TV station. Currently, more than 100 observatories around the world have confirmed Professor Liemo's discovery that apocalypse is approaching the Earth at a very high speed. Relevant experts predict that facing this kind of alien spacecraft that can fly across the stars, humans may have no resistance. Oops, I shouldn't let them know about this. Pop. Fang Lanshan turned off the TV and said with a wry smile, the news nowadays is just broadcasting some sensational things. Humans have existed on the Earth for more than 2 million years. How could they become extinct? When the 3 of them landed on the land of their motherland, Fang Lanshan made a vow in his heart that he would never let his wife and daughter worry again in this life. But the appearance of alien spacecraft will inevitably break all peace. Thinking of what is about to happen, Fang Lanshan was terrified, but he could only pretend that nothing happened. His wife and daughter looked at each other, lowered their heads and ate silently. After dinner, his wife stood up to clean up the dishes. Dad, can you take me to school today? ZORUI carried her school bag, raised her little face, and stared at him with expectant eyes. Fang Lanshan wiped the corners of his mouth carefully with a napkin and smiled. Don't you usually go to school by yourself? The primary school that Fang Xiaoru attends is located in the Mosey Science and Technology Park. On weekdays, he never lets himself take her to school. What happened today? You're just on your way to the office. ZORUI's dark eyes rolled around. Others have parents who send them off. The mornings at Mosey Technology are always full of vitality. The morning sun shines golden light on the road, and groups of researchers step into the laboratory one after another under the golden light. I don't know if it's psychological or other reasons, but Fang Lanshan always feels that the atmosphere in the park is a little strange today. The laughter and joy of the past have disappeared, and a tense atmosphere has begun to permeate instead. The elementary school of Mosey Technology is not far away, and parents with their children pass by from time to time. A female teacher in a uniform skirt stood at the door to greet the elementary school students. Dad, do you think that, if that alien spaceship arrives on Earth, will it get along with us in a friendly manner? Fang Xiaoru stopped and asked with her head down. Fang Lanshan was stunned that his daughter still knew about the spaceship. Mom said that those aliens came to the Earth to destroy us all. ZORUI said sadly, can you talk to them and not destroy the Earth? If it is destroyed, ZORUI will never see her parents and her good friend Zio Duo again. She tilted her head and said with difficulty, how about I give them all the pig lollipops? Such delicious candies, they will definitely be satisfied. Fang Lanshan did not feel angry at all, because his wife disclosed the matter to a child who was ignorant of the world, because after they went through that dark period, they agreed that the whole family would be together, no matter good or bad, nothing could be concealed. But looking at his daughter's fearful eyes, Fang Lanshan felt very sad. He squatted down and said seriously, "Zio whether apocalypse is an alien spaceship is still inconclusive. Even if it is still unknown whether those aliens are hostile to the Earth. Even if they are hostile, we humans can definitely defeat them. Because we have Professor Liemo. Do you know how powerful Dad's boss is?" Hearing Liemo's name, the fear in Zioi's eyes dissipated, and she nodded heavily. "I know that Professor Liemo is a great hero, and can definitely defeat those alien monsters. Go, the teacher must be waiting anxiously." Fang Lanshan said with a warm smile, "Leave the task of fighting monsters to us adults." Zioi's face was filled with the same smile again. "Dad, goodbye." She jumped and ran to the female professor in a uniform skirt. "Teacher Zio Wang, good morning." Fang Lanshan looked at his daughter's back, his eyes moist, and murmured to himself, "Boss, it all depends on you." Chapter 484 Waiting. China, sky-based Crescent Lake. There was a drizzle in the sky, the lake was dotted with waves, and the breeze blew through the woods, making a rustling sound. Under the big tree on the lake shore, Liemo, wearing a bamboo hat and a straw raincoat, was sitting on a bench with a fishing rod in his hand, staring at the float on the water. In the woods, more than a dozen security personnel in black uniforms were in a standard defensive formation, alert to the surroundings. Zhao Dong anxiously glanced at his watch. The terrain on the lakeshore was complex and belonged to the security black hole area. Finally, he couldn't bear it any longer, walked to the shore, and whispered, "Boss, can we go back?" Glancing at the only big-bellied fish in the bucket, "You don't seem to have good luck fishing today." "Bad luck fishing?" Liemo raised his head with an innocent look. "The fish won't bite. Who can do anything? Wait a little longer. There will always be a good time. Young man, don't be too anxious." A breeze blew, and the rustling sound in the woods was everywhere. Zhao Dong's nerves were tense, and he took out his tablet to check the infrared satellite images. Fortunately, no suspicious targets appeared, and he breathed a sigh of relief. "Zhao Dong, you are so nervous that you scared the fish away." Liemo suddenly realized, "I was wondering why there were no fish biting today. It turned out to be because of you. It made me almost doubt my fishing skills." As he said, he changed the bait and threw the hook into the water again. This Zhao Dong was blackline. Didn't the boss know? At this moment, within a radius of 5 kilometers, there are more than 500 well-trained security personnel scattered. In the geosynchronous orbit, 3 ultra-high-definition infrared satellites are always watching this area. In order to fish quietly here, the surrounding roads have been temporarily blocked by the relevant departments, and any passing vehicles have been forced to turn back. Thousands of people work hard in the wild, just for one person to fish quietly? This is too unreasonable. As a qualified bodyguard, Zhao Dong has no right to interfere with the boss's willful behavior. But as the assistant to the chairman of Mosey Technology, he has the obligation to admonish. Boss Zhao Dong was about to admonish when a warning signal came from the headset. 01. The outer gate intercepted a vehicle with a special pass. After verification on the intranet, the authority level of the passengers in the car is orange. Are you allowed to pass? Orange. Zhao Dong was shocked. The authority level of Mosey Technology is divided into 1 to 5 levels. Level 1 is the lowest, equivalent to the authority of an ordinary researcher, who can only access some unencrypted information, and enter and exit ordinary laboratories. Level 2 permissions allow free access to low sensitivity areas. Level 3 permissions allow access to most areas of Mosey Technology. Level 4 permissions allow access to the progress of laboratory projects at any time. And Level 5 permissions are permissions for the heads of major laboratories. Zhao Dong himself is the owner of Level 5 permissions. Unlike levels 1 to 5, which have different permissions, Orange level does not have any special permissions, but it is a symbol of status. In the entire Mosey Technology, only the boss Liemo has Orange level permissions. Unexpectedly, another Orange level permission holder has come. Zhao Dong's heart moved. Could it be that the boss is waiting for him? Thinking of this, he quickly replied in the headset, "Let him go immediately. I will take a few people to greet him in person." A few minutes later, when Zhao Dong saw a gray-haired old man walking out of the car, he suddenly realized it turned out to be Mr. Wang, and everything made sense. The entire scientific community knows that Liemo and the great meritorious Mr. Wang have a deep friendship. When Mosey Technology was first founded, Mr. Wang made great efforts, so much so that some people suspected that Mr. Wang had a share in Mosey Technology. "Take me to see Professor Liemo." Old Wang looked anxious and serious. "You have a lot of time to spare, but you still have the time to fish here. Do you still look like a great scientist? Only you dare to say that." Zhao Dong suppressed his laughter and led old Wang to the lake shore. On the water, the float was shaking violently, and Liemo excitedly raised the fishing rod. A carp was shaking its tail and biting the bait greedily. The carp seemed to find that it had been fooled, and it desperately shook its tail in the water. "Good guy." It finally took the bait. Liemo gently pulled the fishing line and then gently put it down. After several times, the carp in the water seemed exhausted, and he carefully retracted the fishing line. Hearing the footsteps behind him, Liemo was stunned for a moment and put the carp into the bucket, as if nothing had happened. "Professor Liemo, Scientist Li." Old Wang stepped forward and shouted in a loud voice, "I didn't expect that you, the culprit who caused the whole world to fall into chaos, would still be in the mood to fish here." Faced with the accusation, Liemo pretended not to hear it and poked the carp in the bucket with his finger. The fish spit out a bubble unwillingly. "You." Old Wang's face was red, and he was about to explode. "Zhao Dong, help Mr. Wang move a chair." Liemo turned around and threw the hook back into the water. "Mr. Wang, you are in for a treat today. The braised carp made by the chef at the Sky Center is a must-try." Mr. Wang took the bench and sat down heavily. "I came here from afar, not just to eat fish. Now people all over the world are worried about the arrival of that alien spaceship, and you still have the leisure to fish. Have you thought of a countermeasure?" Liemo smiled and shook his head. "A spaceship that can reach a speed of 200,000 kilometers per hour. What does it mean? Don't you know? Although I was fortunate enough to solve several difficult problems and invent several small items, I'm powerless in the face of such a spaceship." Upon hearing this, Mr. Wang's face suddenly dimmed. After discussion, the experts of Huazhang University of Science and Technology unanimously agreed that this spaceship that can cross galaxies and fly at low light speed is likely to come from a third-level civilization. Although it is not clear what type of weapons are equipped on this spaceship, according to the universal law that cannot be overcome by cross-level civilizations, humans will have no chance of winning. Once the alien spacecraft arrives on Earth, humans will be extinct. At this critical moment, you need to stand up. As he said this, he stared at Liemo with his eyes wide open. Liemo was deeply relieved by what Wang Lao said. After the news of the alien spacecraft heading straight for the Earth was released, 4 voices appeared in the human world. The first was the Fear faction, whose main members were some people with scientific knowledge. They believed that humans had no chance of winning against the spacecraft of a higher level civilization, so it was better to surrender as soon as possible. The second was the Arrogant faction, which was mainly composed of mouth cannon masters on the internet. In their view, a mere alien spacecraft was not worth mentioning. As long as the nuclear weapons of various countries were concentrated and a super missile was manufactured, it would be possible to defeat the enemy with one shot. The third was the Guide Party, which was mainly composed of big capitalists in the West. They had already formulated a complete welcoming plan and publicly declared that humans would usher in a new master. The fourth was the Resistance faction, which was mainly composed of far-sighted humans on Earth. They knew that the strength of humans on Earth was far weaker than that of alien spacecraft, but they did not advocate surrender. He stood up and looked at the rippling lake. "Mr. Wang, how many fish do you think are there in this lake? What kind of question is this?" Mr. Wang was a little confused. He frowned and thought for a moment, then tried to say, "Countless." Liemo pulled up the fishing rod, and sure enough, the hook was empty. He smiled bitterly and said, "There are so many fish, why didn't any of them take the bait?" Not far away, a fish surfaced and spit bubbles at them. Mr. Wang smiled bitterly. Look, this fish is laughing at you. As soon as he finished speaking, his face suddenly became serious. Looking at the laughing fish, he muttered to himself, "Are you waiting?" Liemo threw the hook back into the water. Although the alien spacecraft seems invincible, I have made a complete plan. But this plan requires too many resources. Can't the power of a country do it? Mr. Wang's face was moved. Liemo smiled but said nothing. At this time, a drizzle began to fall from the sky, and Zhao Dan ran over with 2 umbrellas. Liemo stood up, picked up the bucket, and poured it into the lake. The carp shook its tail and dived into the water, disappearing in an instant. Let's go and do what we should do. Chapter 485 Fermentation. There are many terrible things in the world, such as landslides, snow in June, the Yellow River changing its course, and high-rise buildings collapsing. But all these disasters combined cannot compare to the destruction of the earth. There is nothing more terrible in the world. If there is, it can only be the kind of desperate fear before waiting for destruction. Since the Xi'an Center announced to the world that the alien spacecraft will arrive on Earth in 10 months, the fear began to spread. Various information about alien spacecraft occupied most of the pages of newspapers. Experts appeared on the stage and tried to explain to the public with their retarded remarks that this alien spacecraft is likely to be a passing spacecraft, and even the messenger of a kind civilization is on board. Unfortunately, this kind of retarded remarks will not be believed by any human with a primary school diploma. Send a supermagnet into space, and the alien spacecraft will change its course under the action of strong magnetism on the bus. Xianmin, who graduated from primary school 10 years ago, shook his head, carefully folded the newspaper, and put it in his backpack. Ding dong. Hujiakan station has arrived. Passengers who want to get off, please get off from the back door. Xianmin jumped off the crowded bus and was about to breathe a sigh of relief when a microphone appeared in front of him. Hello, I'm a reporter from CTV. Can I ask you a few questions? The female reporter widened her eyes with anticipation. The Canon-like camera flashed a red light. Am I going to be on TV? So magical? Xianmin was flattered for the first time being interviewed by a reporter since he was a child. Miss Reporter, please ask. Excuse me, if the world ends in 10 months, what will you do? The female reporter put the microphone in front of him. It's related to alien spacecrafts again. These days, major TV stations around the world have been discussing this issue 24 hours a day, and all kinds of incredible resistance strategies have emerged one after another. But everyone knows that in the face of absolute strength, everything is empty talk. Is there nothing else in the world that can be discussed? For example, housing prices. He widened his eyes. Can I ask a question? The interviewee was uncooperative. The female reporter was about to refuse, but she saw the photographer behind her nodding slightly. Suddenly, she was moved and smiled like a flower. Of course. Please ask. Xianmin stared at the camera. I mortgaged a house in the West District, and I still have 30 years of mortgage to pay. Before the destruction of the earth, do I not need to pay the mortgage? The female reporter hesitated. This shouldn't be possible. Although she is not a professional lawyer, she also knows that, even if the house collapses unexpectedly, the owner still needs to pay the mortgage on time. What's more, the destruction of the earth is only a possibility. In that case, I'm sorry, I have to go to work. Xianmin said, pushing away the microphone and hurriedly running to the office building not far away. Leaving the female reporter messy in the wind, he hurried and finally pressed the fingerprint to punch in before the receptionist showed a gloating expression. I said, Xianmin, can't you be late once? The receptionist frowned her cute little face and looked pitiful. The nameplate on her chest was engraved with the words Wang Ji. I'm sorry, I disappoint you. Xianmin's face showed no regret. You. Wang Ji was about to get angry, but her black eyes rolled around, and she thought of a good idea. She gently lifted her hair and looked charming. Brother Shi, if you can be late once before the earth is destroyed. As she said that, she deliberately straightened her upper body to show her beauty. I agree to date you. Xianmin waved her hand and walked towards the office. Come on. According to the company's small loudspeaker, your date list has been scheduled for 11 months later. I'm not lucky enough to enjoy it. As a veteran in the workplace, Shi Enmin clearly notes that the receptionist is a special existence. They have high education, good figure, and beautiful face, but they are willing to take a salary that is not enough to buy cosmetics every month. Why? Of course, it is to catch a rich son-in-law, so that one day they can fly up to the tree and become a golden phoenix. This kind of woman, poor boys must not mess with. Shi Enmin walked into the office, sat on the chair in the cubicle, and turned on the computer. He took out a client list from his backpack and placed it on the table. He looked up and saw that team leader Zhang was assigning tasks to the new employees. He quickly opened Weibo and looked through Professor Li Emo's homepage. Professor Li still hasn't posted a new blog post. Is the Earth really going to be destroyed? He was immediately disappointed. As an astronomy enthusiast, Shi Enmin knew that humans had no chance of winning against high-level spacecraft. Various experts in the media only talked big and deliberately downplayed the difference in civilization levels. Everyone in the world knows that the only one who can save the Earth now is the great scientist who invented the Marxing battery and quantum chip. However, after he released the information that the alien spacecraft was about to arrive on Earth, he never updated his blog. A bold idea arose in his mind. Should he really sell the house and use the money to go crazy before the Earth is destroyed? When he was very young, he had a dream to take a luxury yacht on a world tour with a lovely girl by his side. Dreams are always just dreams. For so many years, Shi Enmin has not even seen the sea with his own eyes. A mortgaged house has tied him tightly to the pigeon cage of the city. Opening the real estate transaction website, it was full of words urgent sale. In just 1 week, the housing prices in Yanjing had dropped by 20%. It seemed that he was not the only one who had the same idea. Xiaoshi, this is today's customer list. Team leader Zhang threw a document with phone numbers printed on it on the table. The insurance project that our Dacian insurance company focuses on today is Fumando Life Insurance. 60% rebate. Shi Enmin was shocked. 60% rebate means that if a customer buys 100 yuan of life insurance, the insurance agent can extract 60 yuan from it, which is much more than the general insurance project. Full of doubts, he opened a contract sample of Fumando Life Insurance. The insured is 18 to 40 years old. Continuously insured for 20 years. After the age of 95, you can get insurance dividends. The thousands of vague and precise clauses below clearly mark the exemption situations. Shi Enmin sighed in his heart. This is completely a super lucky insurance. According to the insurance contract, the number of customers who can finally receive compensation will be less than 1%. No wonder there is a 60% rebate. Sighing, he still dialed a number according to the phone book. Hello, Mr. Wandashi, this is Dacian Insurance. Beep. After he said the word insurance, the call was hung up without hesitation. Shi Enmin didn't feel angry at all, and even felt fortunate that the other party hung up so early, so as to avoid wasting time. Hello, Mr. Chen Shuxian. Beep. Beep. After being hung up more than 20 times in a row, he finally said his name in full. Hello, Ms. Ai Qingxiu. I'm Shi Enmin, the business manager of Dacian Insurance Company. Our company has recently launched a protection type life insurance. Are you interested in learning about it? A crisp voice came from the other end of the phone. Manager Shi, can your company's insurance protect the Earth? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486 Situation. The surface of the moon, Zhichang's crater. A blue planet hangs motionlessly in the sky. The surrounding light is dim and gray, and a tracked special space vehicle is extending a long drill and aiming at a solid rock. On the space vehicle, there are 2 astronauts wearing umbrella shields on their chests. Ai Qingxiu, hang up the phone quickly, the drilling is about to start. The male astronaut in charge of the drilling operation reminded, I don't know what you have to talk about with the insurance salesperson on Earth. Ai Qingxiu sighed and said to the headset, Manager Shi, if there is nothing else, I will start saving the Earth. If we can all survive, I will consider the insurance you mentioned. Goodbye. After hearing that the call was hung up by the ground command center, AI Kinxiu asked curiously, "Command center, why did you connect this harassing call?" The radio waves made a round trip at a distance of 405,696 kilometers. "This is the command center, A12 installation team. You have been on the moon for a month. According to the established plan, you will stay for another month. Do you miss home?" A clear and pleasant voice came from the headset. This voice is so familiar. AI Kinxiu frowned. Yes. As she said, she couldn't help but look up and take a look at the blue planet above her head. Home is there, but it is out of reach. She is a new generation of astronauts trained by the Marxing project, and her major is astronautics. According to the subject plan, she still needs 3 years of study before she can work in space. Unexpectedly, the apocalypse came suddenly, and all the trainees of the Marxing project were recruited in advance. AI Kinxiu and her companions were sent to the moon by the Navigator spacecraft to perform the task of setting up deep space antennas. The girl, who was determined to devote the rest of her life to the human space cause, was overjoyed and signed her name on the notice without any hesitation, without any consideration. But imagination and reality are two different things. The desolation of the moon was beyond AI Kinxiu's imagination. It was always dark here. As far as the eye could see, there were only bumpy craters and gravel of varying sizes. Coming from a metropolis with bright lights and flashing neon lights to this desolate place, the psychological gap was very huge. During this month, she persisted entirely by her own will. Home evoked AI Kinxiu's thousands of thoughts. I wonder if my mother will take care of the long-eared cat. The fish tank needs to change the water every 3 days. Does my father remember? Is the hot dry noodles downstairs still open? Is it free to add an egg? My sister and her boyfriend are expected to get married during the spring festival this year. I don't know if they will be able to get married in the current situation. Then do you know what humans on Earth are doing now? A crisp and pleasant voice interrupted her thoughts in the headset. What are you doing? AI Kinxiu glanced at the black moon rock not far away. Of course I'm going to work. Can I take a spaceship to the moon for vacation like me? She suddenly stopped and remembered who the owner of this familiar voice was. It was Miss Xiaoqing. She was startled. Although Deputy General Manager Fang Lanshan was in charge of the daily launch plan of the Navigator, all employees of Mosey Technology knew that Miss Xiaoqing was Professor Liamo's right-hand man and had been highly valued for so many years. She hesitated. Are you Miss Xiaoqing? The crisp and pleasant voice paused. Congratulations, you guessed it right. According to Professor Liamo's instructions, today I will inform you, the Mosey Technology astronauts working in space, of the current specific situation on Earth. Now testing the channel. Mars A11, received. Received. Moon A12, received. AI Xiaoqing quickly replied, received. Mercury A13 received. Received. Venus A18 received. There was a burst of noise in the headset for a long time. Received. AI Kinxiu knew that Venus was too far away and the communication signal was interfered by the strong magnetic field around it. Now I will introduce you to the actual situation on Earth. Xiaoqing sighed. At present, the overall situation in our China is still stable. Although panic has triggered a buying spree among the people due to sufficient material preparations, it has not caused major turmoil. Factories and commercial areas are operating normally, people go to get off work as usual every day, and students go to school as usual. The good news is that housing prices in major cities have fallen sharply. Housing prices in Yanjing have plummeted by 20%. However, this news is of no use to our employees of Mosey Technology, because Mosey Technology distributes welfare housing. A burst of laughter came from the headset. Although AI Kinxiu had just been promoted to a formal employee, he had already been assigned a small 3-bedroom apartment, which made his classmates of the same period envious. But Xiaoqing's tone suddenly became serious. The situation in Europe and North America is not optimistic. Various shootings and riots are emerging one after another, although those foreign media are unanimously whitewashing the peace. According to the information sent back by our Mosey Technology flagship store, the public security in those places has reached a chaotic point. Many thugs shouted the banner of the end of the world and robbed the streets in broad daylight. The local law enforcement agencies turned a blind eye, and even some police officers joined the rioters. According to incomplete statistics, the number of people who die in riots in North America now reaches 100,000 every day. Thousands of buildings have been burned down. Major cities have long been protected by heavily armed police, and the capital of the United States has also implemented martial law. What's more serious is that the riots have destroyed the material supply system. In Los Angeles, New York and other major cities, there has been hunger. Hospitals have closed one after another, and the rich have taken helicopters to a hidden island in the Pacific Ocean. It is said that there is a super doomsday bunker more than 5,000 meters underground, which stores enough things for 200,000 people to live for 100 years. When AI Kinxiu heard this, he felt angry. The arrival of the alien spacecraft may very well mean the end of mankind. At this critical moment, all mankind should join hands and overcome the difficulties together. Unexpectedly, those wealthy people abroad are actually ready to abandon their former tools for making money, ready to hide in the bunker and continue their extravagant life. In view of the worsening situation abroad, Professor Liemo has decided to temporarily all Mosey Technology flagship stores and bring back the staff. At the same time, the sale of Marxing batteries and quantum chips to foreign countries will be suspended. 10 minutes later, after listening to Ms. Zia King's report on the world situation, AI Kinxiu's will became much firmer. He took a deep breath and pushed the joystick. May 12, the first drilling operation is officially started. Chapter 487 Return. China, Yanjing. The sun was rising, and the golden plaque on the right side of the gate of Mosey Technology was shining brightly under the sunlight. More than 50 people in black uniforms stood in front of the gate with their hands behind their backs and expressionless faces. The sidewalk outside the gate was crowded with foreign reporters of different skin colors, their eyes full of fatigue. Of course, this does not mean that these reporters have a poor professional attitude, because any normal person would fall into this unhealthy state of doubting life after waiting at someone else's door for 2 consecutive weeks. When a convoy of black red flag cars drove over with flashing alarm lights, the reporters suddenly became excited and rushed to the convoy. In the chaos, a petite blonde girl stumbled and fell on the steps, and her white calves were immediately covered in blood. LUOE, immediately send the lady who fell in area 3 to the temporary medical room. In the monitoring room, Brother Hay noticed this small detail. Outside the gate, the excited foreign journalists ignored the warnings of the black uniforms, waved their microphones, and shouted loudly, "Professor Liemo! Professor Liemo! I'm a reporter from the newspaper. What do you think of the upcoming alien spacecraft? I'm a reporter from CNN. Do you have any conspiracy to release the information about the coming of the doomsday? I'm a reporter from the British ITV TV station. There is news that you are going to take all the employees of Mosey Technology to Mars for refuge on the Navigator. Is it true?" The black uniforms were on full alert, holding batons and lining up on both sides of the gate. The guide car drove straight to the open gate with flashing lights. The black convoy following closely behind did not show any signs of stopping. Seeing that the black convoy showed no signs of stopping, the reporters could no longer bear the anxiety in their hearts. While the black uniforms were dispersed, dozens of reporters worked together to force open the warning roadblocks. A torrent of water rushed out from the gap, and hundreds of foreign reporters rushed to the scene. "Professor Liemo, please stop the car and accept our interview. Professor Liemo, you are the only scientist who can save mankind. At this critical moment, you must not abandon the Earth." The sharp alarm sounded across the sky and echoed in everyone's ears. Brother Hay turned on the intercom. "Mosey Guard, move out immediately and limit the use of lethal weapons. Silence. Silence. Silence." More than 100 black uniforms holding explosion-proof shields, shouting neat slogans, lined up in 2 teams like a sharp knife, forcibly dividing the chaotic crowd in half. Faced with these powerful warriors, the emotional foreign reporters blushed, and their eyes revealed unwillingness, but they had to return to the sidewalk in disappointment. The chaotic scene was immediately effectively controlled. Brother Hay, who had been staring at the big screen, breathed a sigh of relief. This was his first mission after returning to the Mosey Technology headquarters, and there must be no mistakes. He picked up the intercom. The boss has returned safely. All security personnel should be alert and pay close attention to any abnormalities around. After thinking for a while, Luoyi, how is the injured reporter? In the temporary medical room at the gate, Luoyi, who was wearing a black uniform, heard the question in the headset, glanced at the blonde female reporter with bandages wrapped around her smooth calf, and replied, "Report. After the doctor's examination, she is not seriously injured, just a little skin injury. Also, she said her leg hurts and she doesn't want to leave immediately. Leg pain? It's just a little skin abrasion." With years of experience of injuries, Brother Hay is very sure that the female reporter is really playing tricks. But if she is forced to leave, it will be too inhumane. Now is an extraordinary period, and an unidentified person cannot be allowed to enter the park. In this case, you will be responsible for taking care of her. He glanced at the information sent by the laboratory's intelligent security system. The girl is from Ukraine and has a clean background. There is no doubt. Then he ordered, "Wait until she leaves, then return to the team." Luoyi looked helpless. A security guard was actually treated as a nanny. But orders are orders. The injured on the opposite side was staring at him with interest, his black eyes rolling around in his exotic eyes. "Maybe we should discuss it." Luoyi stepped forward with a sincere smile. "Miss, can you leave now? You know, we at Mosey Technology strictly prohibit outsiders from entering, and your injury does not affect your walking." The blonde female reporter shook her head. "Don't want to leave? Do you really have to accompany her?" Luoyi's heart sank. He was not willing to be a nanny at all. Just as melancholy climbed onto his forehead, the girl smiled slyly and stretched out her finger. Luoyi scratched his short hair and asked in confusion, "Will you stay for another hour?" The language is not communicated. He now regrets that he chose the more popular English when he attended the language training class. Now he can only communicate by guessing. The blonde female reporter shook her head, took out a checkbook from the backpack behind her, and wrote the words 1,000,000 yuan with a ballpoint pen, and handed it over. A voice in northeastern Chinese, "You bastard, let me enter the park. This 1,000,000 is for you." Luoyi stood up straight, pointed at the door with a serious face. "Get out now. Otherwise, we at Mosey Technology will sue you for suspected employee bribery and attempted theft of secrets, and then we'll be in big trouble." The blonde female reporter awkwardly put the check back into her backpack and limped out of the temporary infirmary. "You crappy security guard. You didn't even pick up the money dropped on the ground. You deserve to be poor." Luoyi stood aside, silently enduring the female reporter's scolding. When her back disappeared outside the door, he raised his head and looked at a camouflaged camera in the corner of the temporary house. "Captain, have you recorded everything?" Hey Jess smiled in the headset. "Of course. But good boy, you are not tempted by 1,000,000. If there is no surveillance, will you?" Luoyi rolled up his sleeves and clicked mission completed on the screen of the smartwatch. "Of course not. Not only I won't, I believe that no one in black uniform will. Although most of us veterans are retired from special forces, we have nothing when we step into society again. Facing this era of rapid development, we seem to be at a loss. It was Professor Liemo who provided us with a stable job and life, and stipulated that security personnel enjoy the benefits of formal employees. Point which entrepreneur in this world can do this?" The red flag convoy slowly stopped in front of the Mosey Technology Laboratory building. More than a dozen Mosey Technology veterans who had been waiting on the side could not wait to greet them. "Boss, we are home." Zhao Dong in the front row turned around and reminded carefully. Liemo then raised his head from the drawing on the tablet computer. The drawing was marked in Chinese as Solar System Deep Space Signal Shielding System. Chapter 488 Meeting 1. It's so nice to be home. The familiar desk, office chair, familiar mouse, keyboard, familiar teacup, tea leaves, all of these give people a very comfortable feeling. Liemo leaned back in his chair, tapping his fingers on the table, thinking about something. Knock knock. "Come in." He didn't even raise his head. White. So white. A pair of long white legs appeared in front of Liemo. These familiar long white legs. He stood up from the chair suddenly, his eyes wide open, Zerking, "Why are you dressed so coolly?" Across from her, King, with her long hair draped over her shoulders, changed her usual professional attire. She wore a white tube top embroidered with light pink lotus flowers on the upper body, and a black miniskirt about 20 centimeters long on the lower body, which looked particularly unrestrained. The earth is about to be destroyed. Is there anything wrong with me wearing this? She stared with innocent big eyes, and quietly pulled the skirt down with both hands. Is this King's nature? Liemo was speechless for a moment, but such an outfit was too eye-catching. He rolled his eyes and said, the earth may really be destroyed, but you should still be an employee of Mosey Technology. Article 12 of Chapter 5 of the Employee Code stipulates that employees of Mosey Technology must dress neatly and appropriately during working hours. Now, as the boss of Mosey Technology, I think your dress does not meet the regulations. I order you to change it immediately and deduct this month's bonus as punishment. After establishing Mosey Technology, Liemo consulted a big boss in the ad industry and knew that as a qualified boss, he must have supreme authority in the company. This kind of authority is mostly established from a small employee handbook. Most of the various clauses above are carefully designed by professional legal professionals, allowing bosses to interpret them at will according to their own ideas. Sure enough, King, who was very arrogant just now, looked pitiful. Boss, I will change my clothes now. Can I not be fined? No. Liemo shook his head mercilessly. By the way, have you arranged the meeting you were asked to organize? He asked. King nodded. The 10 team members you selected are already waiting in the first conference room. A room of only 20 square meters, with a 100-inch screen hanging on the wall. 10 cream-colored ruin chairs were placed next to a round wooden table. 9 people stood in the room and looked at each other in bewilderment. Is this the first conference room of Mosey Technology? So simple. There are many legends in Mosey Technology, such as how much wealth the boss Liemo has, whether the boss Liemo has a first love, how many days the boss Liemo can work continuously, and why the ranking of Mosey Technology's conference room starts from the second conference room, and whether the first conference room exists. There are no windows in the room. Fang Lanshan was unwilling to accept the ordinariness of the first conference room, and found a suspicious point. The rental house I used to live in also had no windows. A boy wearing a heavy bottle-bottom hat said timidly. His words aroused the dissatisfaction of the discoverer of the suspicious point. Fang Lanshan pretended to be angry. Although there are no windows, the reasons are different. The reason for not installing windows here is to keep it confidential, and the reason for renting the house is to save costs. When you ask, although our boss is stingy, he will not save the money for a window, right? The boy named Wenyuang said weakly. I'm just saying it. No signal. Daffy habitually took out his mobile phone and glanced at it. The signal in this room is all blocked. Everyone took out their mobile phones. Only the big boss with eye bags disagreed. This is normal. Before we entered this conference room, we had passed 3 bank vault-like doors, 5 biometric identifications, and a full body scan. The signal blocking system is too normal. There were many opinions. Only Brother Hay stood aside and said nothing. The door was suddenly pushed open from the outside, and Liemo led King, who was wearing a grey professional suit, into the room. Everyone, please sit down. Liemo picked up the remote control on the table and turned on the big screen. Hello, everyone watching TV. I'm now in Los Angeles. You can see the thick smoke behind you. This is a shopping mall that has just been burned down by rioters. On TV, a Chinese reporter was reporting global news. Although the United States did not give specific data, according to what I learned locally, the city of Los Angeles is full of smoke. People are hiding in their homes in broad daylight and dare not go out easily. What do you think? Liemo put down the remote control in his hand. The United States is in chaos? Daffy was a little confused. He thought that at this meeting, Liemo would propose a plan to deal with alien spacecraft, but he didn't expect that he would have the leisure to care about the chaos abroad. Liemo shook his head and pointed to the bottom of the wine bottle. Wenyuang, you are an expert in psychological analysis. Explain this phenomenon. King looked at Wenyuang's childish face, and his detailed information immediately emerged in her mind. Wenyuang, male, 22 years old, graduated with a doctorate in psychology, joined Mosey Technology a year ago, and has not won any honors. It was hard for her to understand why such a blank slate was personally named by the boss to join the 10-person team, because the members of the team were all veteran elites of Mosey Technology, including great scientists like Fang Lanchen and Zhao Dafeng, as well as professional talents like Oyu Dafei, a little doctoral student. When Yuunk also realized that his appearance here attracted some inexplicable attention. Since the beginning of the meeting, he had been quietly listening in, but he didn't expect to be called by name. He pondered for a moment and pushed his eyes with his hand. This phenomenon is very abnormal. Very abnormal? Isn't it normal for doomsday panic to lead to riots? Everyone looked at him in confusion, and Liamo's heart moved. Explain why it is abnormal. The whole thing is actually very strange. After the boss announced at the Sky Center that an alien spacecraft will arrive on Earth within 10 months. When Yuang stood up, his eyes deep, all the media on Earth instantly determined that this spacecraft had malicious intentions towards the Earth. This itself is not normal. Liu Mingru asked puzzledly, the appearance of an alien spacecraft near the Earth must be intended to destroy the Earth. What's abnormal? When Yuang smiled, whether vegetarian habits are good for health can still cause controversy in the medical community. Why are the voices of foreign media so unified on such a major event as the arrival of an alien spacecraft? Different people have different views on the same thing. I have done statistics. Among the 108 foreign newspapers, only one entertainment newspaper published information about an alien spacecraft coming to Earth, possibly for communication. The remaining 107 newspapers all unanimously promoted that the Earth is about to be destroyed and the end of the world is coming soon. This shows that there is a mastermind behind the scenes fanning the flames. Everyone nodded, thoughtfully. Humans are rational creatures. Although they may lose their minds when faced with fear, the destruction of the Earth is the ultimate fear. When Yuang's face flushed, and he continued to explain, just like a nest of ants facing an anteater, they will only flee in fear instead of taking the opportunity to snatch food. So, the riots abroad are very abnormal. Liamo nodded approvingly. That makes sense. This is the purpose of my convening this meeting today. Chapter 489 Meeting 2. Then do we need to remind foreign countries? Oyu Dafei looked worried. Facing alien spaceships, more strength means more chances of winning. Liamo smiled bitterly and said, will they listen to our voices patiently? Everyone was gloomy. The Earth was about to be destroyed, but humans could not unite together. It was so sad. In the history of human civilization on Earth, there have been too many wars, and internal struggles have consumed too much energy. If there were no wars, humans might have been able to break through the confinement of the solar system long ago, and would not be so embarrassed when facing an alien spaceship. Is this why you have always refused to meet with those foreign leaders? Xia King thought of the fact that her boss had turned down hundreds of meeting requests from foreign dignitaries in the past few days, and even hung up the phone call from the Secretary General of the United Nations. Exactly. Liamo nodded. Before they really realize the seriousness of the problem, any cooperation is empty talk. Instead of wasting energy on various negotiations, we might as well do some preparatory work ourselves first. As soon as these words came out, the 10 people in the conference room became excited. Boss, have you figured out how to deal with the alien spacecraft? His eyes lit up, and a hint of redness appeared on his dark face. These days, the shadow of doomsday has been looming over his mind. Although as a professionally trained security guard, he has long seen through life and death. But, even ants try to survive. Boss, do you really have a way to save the Earth? Liu Mingru, the boss with bags under his eyes, swallowed his saliva. I just got married, and my wife is beautiful and virtuous. I don't want to do it so soon. And me, Fang Lanchen said impatiently. Boss, you know my daughter has just started elementary school. It turned out that they were also afraid of death, but they just didn't show it. Liamo looked at the pairs of expectant eyes and tapped the table with his fingers. It's just a very small idea. There's no certainty of winning. He had learned from the story told by the big-headed Pajero people that the third-level civilization warships had star destroyers that could destroy a planet. If that alien spaceship was aimed at the Earth from tens of thousands of kilometers away and fired that shot, any perfect plan would be in vain. Only Liemo thought of this, smiled bitterly, facing an alien spaceship. All I can do is seize a 1 in a billion chance and fight for a glimmer of hope for the Earth. Unfortunately, his words did not break everyone's fantasy, and the cloudy sky finally cleared up. Boss, just tell us what you need us to do. Brother Hay stood up, veins on his neck trembling. The guys in our security department are all tough guys. Is this going to be a duel? Sit down. Liemo's face was serious. Each of the tasks I assign is related to the success or failure of the plan, and there is no room for error. The consequence of failure: the destruction of the Earth. Everyone was startled and immediately perked up and listened attentively. At present, what is the installation progress of the solar system deep space signal shielding system? Liemo looked at Fang Lanshan, who couldn't help but be happy. The solar system signal shielding system is a communication shielding system designed by him at the Xianan Center, based on Jian Keibo's ideas. It consists of deep space antennas installed on the surface of solid stars such as the Moon, Mars, and Mercury. It can shield the long-wave signals sent by the Earth to space. Fang Lanshan, whose name was called, answered skillfully. 90% has been completed. Since the atmospheric pressure on the surface of Venus is equivalent to 90 times that of the Earth, and the temperature is as high as 460, the installation of the deep space antenna is very slow. It is expected to be completed in 2 days. This installation speed is a bit slow. Liemo nodded slightly. After the installation is completed, start the signal shielding system immediately. We must completely shield the long-wave signals emitted from the Earth in the shortest time, to prevent some people with ulterior motives from reporting to the alien spacecraft. Fang Lanshan nodded heavily. He understood very well that a strong fortress is often broken from the inside. What's more, the Earth is now almost defenseless. Oh Daffy, use all your connections to collect meteorites from all over the world. Liemo continued to arrange tasks. Meteorite? Daffy asked in confusion. Our Mosey technology navigator can capture meteorites from the asteroid belt of the solar system at any time. So why do we need to collect those meteorites that fall on the ground? What I need is not the meteorites in the solar system, but those meteorites outside the solar system, Liemo explained with a frown. Of course, we don't need complete meteorites, just some samples will do. You want to extract some element from the meteorites, right? Oh Daffy understood instantly. Don't worry, I will complete the task perfectly. This is related to his future happy life. If the Earth is destroyed, everything will cease to exist. Zyking, notify the battery factory to speed up the manufacturing progress of the supermaxing battery. Liemo looked up at the impatient former female assistant. They must produce 5 super batteries with an energy of 20 million units within a month. Yes. Zyking sat up straight and answered neatly. When you pay close attention to the changes in the riots abroad and analyze the internal connections. If you can find the mastermind behind the scenes, it will be a great achievement for you. Liemo promised. When Yuang nodded calmly. Everyone knew that the great achievements of Mosey technology were not empty promises. Every hero recognized by the boss received a monetary reward sufficient to achieve financial freedom. It was too difficult to find the mastermind behind the riot through analysis. Brother Hay, Zhaodong, you are responsible for the security of Mosey Technology Park. There can be no mistakes. Liemo slapped the table with his hand. The moment of revealing the truth is coming. The enemy hidden in the dark will inevitably wait for an opportunity to launch a fatal attack on us. Although there was no clear evidence, Liemo had a vague premonition that a huge organization was hiding in the dark, always paying attention to his every move. He had been attacked many times before. Brother Hay was poisoned, and even Wu Sanwe's disappearance was likely related to this organization. The Earth is about to be destroyed, and the human world is in chaos. They will definitely not give up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Half an hour later, everyone who left the meeting room looked relieved. Although the alien spacecraft is about to arrive on Earth and may launch a devastating blow to mankind, the boss has a way. Brother Hay, let's go to the restaurant for a drink after work. The dark clouds dispersed, and Daffy suddenly felt very relaxed. No, I still need to discuss with Zhaodong how to arrange security work. Brother He shook his head repeatedly. Vice President Fang, what about you? Not today. I have to go back to be with my wife and children. Oh, Daffy felt lonely for the first time in his life. Chapter 490 Communication Light Waves. In Pennsylvania, USA, JWST Ground Control Center in front of the building, a large flag with a flat earth printed on it fluttered in the wind. Dozens of young people waved their arms and shouted loudly, "Damn astronomers, how dare they deceive the public? The earth is flat, and there are no alien planets in the universe. Hang the astronomers. Burn the telescope. Humanity does not need science." They were so excited that they seemed to smash the glass of the center's door with sticks in their hands, rush into the building, and drag the staff inside out to parade them. Director Kuma stood in front of the French curtain window in his office, but he was not worried at all, because an orange cordon had already been drawn in front of the building. Dozens of heavily armed police were pointing their black guns at the demonstrators. The cordon is the police's defense line, and they will shoot any demonstrators who cross the line without permission without hesitation. Director Kuma knew this, so he was not worried. The demonstrators also knew this, so although they looked angry, they could keep their distance. "Honey, where do these cowards come from?" A charming woman in a tight miniskirt appeared beside him at some point. "What does flat earth mean?" Her thin lips were as tender as rose petals, and her long black legs were particularly eye-catching. Director Kuma couldn't help but swallow his saliva secretly. "Secretary Ruth, this is the office. Please be careful about the address." Ruth's lips were slightly raised, and she leaned against him charmingly, and a crimson fragrance came to his nose. "Honey, there are no one else here. Please help an ignorant girl like me explain it to you." Kuma's whole body suddenly softened, and his face was full of love. "The demonstrators downstairs are from the Flat Earth Church, a group of anti-scientists." "What does anti-scientists mean?" Ruth stared with innocent big eyes and straightened her body. "A beautiful flower is about to bloom." Director Kuma's eyes dodged. "Ruth, you should read more newspapers. In this world, not everyone believes in science. Take the demonstrators downstairs for example. They firmly believe that the earth is a flat disk. The center of the disk is the North Pole, and the outer circle of the disk is the South Pole. The South Pole surrounds the ocean, so the seawater will not flow out. There is no universe in the world, and naturally there are no so-called aliens, so they are so angry." Ruth raised her little face, blinking her long eyelashes, and her eyes were full of admiration. Director Kuma said seriously, "The lack of scientific knowledge has made them a group of idiots. So you young people should read more books. You are great." Ruth lowered her head with a charming face, tapped the floor with the tip of her shoes, and made a dead sound. "It's raining outside now. Do you want me to take the umbrella out of the umbrella bag?" Director Kuma was stunned, and then he understood in an instant, and his face showed joy. "You brought an umbrella? Water is like the horizontal eye waves, and the mountain is like the gathered eyebrows. Want to ask the passerby where to go?" Her eyes were full of smiles. Beep. Beep. A quick ring of the phone rang, and Director Kuma answered the phone angrily. "Henry, you'd better have a good reason." "Director, the JWST telescope suddenly received a message from an alien spacecraft." Director Kuma was stunned for a moment, blurted out, "Damn it," not knowing whether it was the message from the alien spacecraft, or because his good thing was interrupted. He adjusted his clothes in front of the mirror, and after making sure everything was normal, he took out a red pass from the drawer in his office. Ruth's eyes lit up, walked up and whispered, "Director, can you take me with you? I want to, but the command and communication room requires level 1 authority, and you are just an intern secretary." Director Kuma looked embarrassed. "You just said that young people should learn more." Ruth lowered her head and pretended to be angry. "Besides, you are the boss of the center, don't you have this right?" On the big screen in the command and communication room, the simulated image of the JWST telescope kept rotating. Dozens of middle-aged men in blue uniforms stared at the strange symbol sent back from space with frowns. "What's going on?" Director Kuma pushed open the door and walked straight to the chief engineer, Professor Hunter. Professor Hunter's hands were working quickly on the keyboard. 20 minutes ago, the avalanche photoelectric tube array of the orbiting telescope suddenly received a strange light wave. The starting point of this light wave is that alien spaceship. Aliens actually use light waves to communicate. This has exceeded Director Kuma's cognition. As an outstanding astronomer in the United States, he has studied deep space communications. There are two major difficulties in deep space transmission. One is the cosmic background noise, and the other is path loss. In order to overcome the background noise, humans have to choose extremely high frequency radio as a means of communication, so that they can avoid co-frequency interference. At the same time, in order to overcome the signal path loss of more than 300 dB, deep space communication can only rely on larger diameter antennas to receive signals, and use larger antenna gain to counteract path loss. Because light waves are extremely easy to lose, in human cognition, it is absolutely impossible to use them as a means of communication. But the facts are right in front of us. Analysis completed. Professor Hunter looked at the data on the computer and said in surprise, "Low frequency light waves. How is it possible?" "Don't worry about the light waves," Director Kuma asked impatiently. "Quickly send the information to the supercomputing center and ask them to crack it immediately. I want to know what that damn alien spaceship wants to do." In fact, as early as 50 years ago, the world astronomical community had discussed what to do when the Earth's human beings and alien civilizations encounter each other. After 10 years of research, a unanimous conclusion was reached. First of all, we must understand the way aliens communicate. Different pronunciations and customs in different places. The same pronunciation and the same gesture may express different meanings in different places. For example, in most parts of the world, nodding means agreement, and shaking the head means denial. But in India, nodding means denial, and shaking the head means agreement. Even the same biological race can have such completely opposite expression methods. Alien creatures from hundreds of light years away must have a language that is very different from humans. Therefore, it is crucial to correctly understand the intentions of aliens. Professor Hunter's eyes widened, and he stared at the computer screen motionlessly. "What's wrong?" Director Kuma realized that something strange might have happened and looked at the big screen. Suddenly he exclaimed, "This, no need to crack it." Professor Hunter looked frustrated and muttered to himself, "Obviously, these aliens are here to destroy the Earth." Everyone in the hall stared at the big screen in amazement. In the corner, Secretary Ruth took out a lipstick from her pocket and carefully applied it to her lips. Chapter 491 Declaration of War. Human beings are intelligent animals that live in groups. The building of human civilization is built on the basis of mutual communication. In order to communicate more quickly, accurately, and efficiently, humans invented language and writing. Every day, hundreds of millions of communication messages are spread rapidly around the world through various carriers, becoming a witness to civilization. The basis of communication is accurate understanding, and for this reason, various cumbersome grammars are specially formulated in human language to avoid ambiguity. However, when faced with an alien message, how to correctly interpret it, no one knows. Just when all the scientists in the world who received the beam signal were worried about how to crack the message, a scene appeared on the big screen, which made them understand one thing: the aliens on this alien spaceship are very considerate. An alien creature with fangs in its mouth and horns on its head appeared on the big screen. It has human-like limbs, is about 3 meters tall, has a huge body, and its face is hidden under a strange black mask. The light bulb-sized eyeballs emit purple light. Is this the Grey Star? It looks too much like a monster in a horror movie. Liemo was shocked and stood up from his seat. Everyone in the lab was startled and couldn't help but look back at the boss and then heaved a sigh of relief. The picture on the big screen was shaking. The Grey Star man seemed to be dissatisfied with the shooting angle. He stretched out his sharp claws and fiddled with the camera equipment left and right for 10 minutes. 20 minutes. The Grey Star man didn't seem to have the intention to stop and kept touching the lens with his claws. Everyone in the lab looked at each other. Could it be that shaking the lens was the alien's way of communication? Or was it simply choosing an angle to show its mighty and huge size? Is it a fool? Doesn't it know that the camera has an automatic focusing function? Of course, the camera equipment on the alien spacecraft is likely to be different from the camera on Earth. But the scientific principle is universal throughout the universe. The basic principle of alien camera equipment is to collect light signals, convert light signals into digital signals, and finally present them as images through encoding. It should be the same. It is really hard to imagine that the camera equipment of an advanced alien civilization still needs to be manually focused. Liemo quietly watched the retarded performance of the aliens on the big screen, with a puzzled look on his face. Thousands of doubts converged in his mind. Manual adjustment. Is it a problem with the alien camera equipment, or a problem with the time and space of the Earth? On the screen, the Grey Star Man also seems to be confused. The direction he adjusts is always 2 mm different from the standard position, causing the captured picture to appear crooked. How did this 2 mm error come about? A third-level civilization must not understand even the most basic optical imaging principles, so there is only one reason, or thought that is more terrifying than an alien warship invading the Earth appeared in his mind. Liemo's face changed drastically, his whole body trembled, his legs were weak, and he had to support the table with his hands. On his forehead, a big drop of sweat dripped onto the ground, making a click sound. "Boss, are you sick?" Zhao Dong heard the sound, turned around and saw Liemo's painful expression, and immediately came over to help him to the sofa beside him. Liemo, who was slumped on the sofa, shook his head and whispered, "I'm fine, just a little tired. Keep your voice down. Don't worry everyone at this critical moment." Zhao Dong suddenly realized that the alien invasion was imminent. If the professor had health problems, he couldn't imagine what the people would do. He quietly handed over a cup of hot tea. "Boss, do you want to ask the health doctor to come?" According to the security manual formulated by the company, as an assistant, he should forcibly stop the boss's work and notify the professional medical team to come for consultation. But the current situation is special and Zhao Dong is unsure. After a sip of hot tea, Liemo's face became much more normal. "Zhao Dong, I'm fine. Don't disturb them." As he said that, he pointed his finger at the people, who were staring at the retarded alien's performance. 30 minutes later, the picture on the big screen was still crooked, and the alien finally gave up adjusting it. It aimed the camera at the glass window. Outside was the dark universe, and the stars flickered silently. An elliptical aperture attracted everyone's attention. Countless small light spots were scattered around the aperture, and 8 bright light spots inside were rotating around an orange bright spot. "That's the solar system." Fang Lanshan pointed to a star field on the screen and said excitedly, "That small light spot should be the Kuiper asteroid belt. Neptune, Uranus, the khaki one is Jupiter and the blue one is the Earth. Oh my god. It's showing us the location of the spacecraft. This alien is too honest. The human beings on Earth are a biological race that is good at fighting. After thousands of years of fighting, humans have developed a complete set of military strategies. Among them, the first thing to do in war is to hide their position. Is this alien expressing friendship?" Jingjing opened her eyes wide. They came to Earth not to destroy, but for cultural exchange. In the alien spacecraft, the passengers are actually a peaceful race. This can explain the aliens' active exposure of their positions. Everyone was immediately excited. They were already imagining what kind of video to record in response to this friendship. Liemo looked at this scene and sighed in his heart. The naive human beings still haven't given up their fantasies. Appearance is determined by the heart. On the big screen, the alien monster that originally looked scary suddenly became cute in the eyes of everyone. You say, the charming purple light in his eyes, is it like wearing contact lenses? Zia King stared at the big screen and said, "Is this an alien lady?" Fang Lanshan shook his head. "It shouldn't be. If the purple light is produced by itself, then this alien is not a carbon-based creature. Since it is not a carbon-based creature, how can we tell its gender? I'm just making an analogy." Zia King looked helpless. There was no way. Mosey technology had too much wood. "Look, what is it doing with a big knife?" Oyu Daffy laughed and said, "Is it going to show its cooking skills to the people on Earth?" On the big screen, the alien opened a black cabinet, which was full of various strange weapons. It took out a big knife-like weapon from it, and returned to the table. It was then that everyone noticed that there was a round ball painted in azure blue on the table. The alien raised his head, glanced at the camera, and purple light burst out of his eyes. It raised its sword, which was gleaming with white light, and chopped it down fiercely, splitting the sphere in two. Sure. Dozens of sword lights flashed, and the sphere turned into a pile of debris. The alien used his hands to sweep the debris to the ground, then put down the sword, and stepped hard on the debris. Then he raised his head, and raised his middle claw towards the camera. Everyone was stunned for a long time. Fuck. This monster is definitely declaring war on the Earth. Chapter 492 Earth Conference. Alien monsters declare war on Earth, and humanity is in danger. On Earth, the few people who remained rational and worked normally found that the newspapers were blank, with only a short headline. In the information sent by the alien spacecraft, the alien monster with a big mouth that could swallow an adult Earthling used a big knife to split the sphere that symbolizes the Earth into pieces. The picture has been spread all over the world through TV programs. The last glimmer of luck was completely shattered. At this moment, even the calmest people could not suppress their inner fear. The chaos on Earth has begun. 1 month later, Yanjing, China is one of the few countries in the world that maintains the original order. Residents of big cities have long been accustomed to the fast-paced life. In the early morning, the streets of Yanjing are crowded with people. They are refreshed and ready to start a new day of work. On the big screen on the roadside, current news from all over the world are being broadcast. The major cities of the world are in chaos, with billowing black smoke everywhere. Hungry people take advantage of the intervals when the chaos stops to look for food from the ruins. Looking at the miserable scene on the big screen, the people of Yanjing are very satisfied with the current stable situation. Although the economy has fallen into weakness due to the restriction of foreign trade exports, the living standards of the people have not dropped too much, because China has already stored enough food. The destruction of the Earth is imminent. Can we ask for more? Every Chinese, every Yanjing person feels that they are very lucky. At least they can still work normally, and their children can go to school as usual. This is enough. If there is anything that is not satisfactory, it is that due to the alien spaceship incident, many foreign leaders have visited, and the transportation center can only block the road every 2 or 3 days. Although the road closure usually only lasts for a few hours, it will disrupt the normal order of life and work, especially those who like to go to work on time. They may be late and lose a month's bonus. For ordinary people, benefits are often more important than face. Hello, everyone in front of the TV. Now an emergency road closure notice is issued. The Yanjing people who were watching TV found that the program on the TV suddenly changed to a news notice. Is the road going to be closed again? Dissatisfaction rose from the heart instantly. Since the first Earth Conference will be held at the Yanjing Mosey Science and Technology Experimental Center, the heads of 197 countries around the world will attend the conference. In order to ensure the safe and orderly progress of the conference, the traffic center has decided to temporarily implement traffic control for up to 1 week on the 12 streets along Jiangnan Road to Airport Road. Please forgive the adverse effects of traffic control on the normal lives of residents. On the TV, the female host, who was always serious, changed her usual serious expression, revealing 2 shallow dimples on her cheeks, and her face was full of smiles. This warm smile was like a spring breeze, blowing away the haze in people's hearts for many days. Professor Liemo took action. The Earth Conference is finally going to be held. Since the alien spacecraft was discovered by the Earth, humans have spent a long 5 months facing an interstellar spacecraft from a higher civilization. Various brain-opening coping strategies have been released. Unfortunately, it is useless. After a month, people gradually realized that in the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy is useless. Imagine the energy shields, high-energy cannons, and other incredible weapons that may be carried on alien spacecraft. A sense of powerlessness appeared in everyone's heart. At this time, the name of a Chinese appeared in everyone's mind. He was Professor Liemo, a scientist who could turn decay into magic. Perhaps only he could save the Earth. With this idea in mind, many foreign leaders came to visit, hoping to get a clear answer from Professor Liemo. Unfortunately, they were all turned down. The heroic external relations director of Mosey Technology released a statement from Professor Liemo. In the face of crisis, all mankind needs absolute solidarity. This statement released in Chinese made the whole world boil. According to the literal meaning, if there is absolute solidarity, will mankind still have hope of survival? But what is absolute solidarity? Obey the same order, or establish an organization similar to the United Nations? Although humans are social creatures, they are not like ants in an ant hole, who only obey the orders of the queen ant. Every country and every individual has their own interests. How can there be absolute solidarity? There is only a puzzle, but no answer. Those foreign leaders came with hope, but returned disappointed. Until the human beings on Earth received the war declaration from the alien spacecraft, chaos broke out, and everyone realized that mankind had no way out. The External Relations Department of Mosey Technology sent a mandatory invitation letter to 197 countries around the world, and they decided to hold the first global conference. Any country that ignores the invitation will be excluded from human civilization. What a big tone. Although Professor Liemo is a well-known scientist, it is too arbitrary to expel a country from the world so casually. Will all countries strongly oppose it? How can we absolutely unite in this way? When the public was worried, a surprising situation appeared. After receiving the invitation letter, the heads of the world immediately issued a notice, saying that they absolutely supported Professor Liemo's suggestion, and decided to put the countries that did not participate in the Earth Conference on the permanent blacklist. At this time, those international relations experts realized that Professor Liemo might have had a plan to deal with alien spacecraft, but he was waiting for it by not announcing it, waiting for all mankind to truly realize the crisis they are about to face, so that they can unite. The day after the invitation was sent out, 196 countries around the world sent telegrams to declare that they would attend the global conference held by Mosey Technology. Only one country has not sent a telegram yet, San Marino. The public's eyes instantly focused on this small southern European country with a population of only 31,900. Is this country, which is only 62 square kilometers in area, and not even as big as a small town in China, ready to betray all mankind? One after another, emergency notices flew to San Marino, the capital of San Marino, and the public learned a ridiculous reason. San Marino leader Aloda Tapia had already fled to the small island in the Pacific Ocean with his family. Without a leader, it is naturally impossible to send a telegram. Fortunately, the people of San Marino also realized the seriousness of the matter. After a 10-minute discussion, they decided to revoke Aloda Tapia's nationality and elect a new leader. The new leader took office as quickly as possible and immediately issued a telegram to decide to attend the Earth Conference. The flame of hope has ignited in the hearts of mankind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493 Earth Defense Agency. On the streets of Yanjing, tens of thousands of soldiers in black uniforms were fully armed and lined up in a row. Dozens of infantry vehicles painted dark green were scattered at various intersections. The air was filled with a solemn taste. There were no flowers, and there was no welcoming team with gongs and drums. One after another, black bulletproof buses, guided by explosive police motorcycles, roared towards the direction of Mosey Technology. 3 days. The first global conference lasted for 3 days. These 3 days were called the 3 days that changed human history by later historians. 10,000 years later, at the first moment of becoming a level 5 civilization, humans deliberately used 12 diamond asteroids on the outer edge of the solar system to set the time of this meeting. 3 days later, when the live broadcast of the meeting appeared on TV, the whole world stopped. People in China put down their work and stood in front of the TV. The thugs in front of residential buildings abroad silently put down their torches. This moment attracted worldwide attention. On the TV screen, a young man sat in the center of the rostrum, and more than 100 leaders of various countries sat upright under the stage. The excited voice of the female host came from the speaker. After 3 days of friendly negotiations, 197 countries around the world unanimously agreed to Professor Liemo's proposal to establish the Earth Defense Bureau. According to the information, Provided by the Earth Conference. The Earth Defense Bureau is a temporary global organization that exists in the process of Earth's fight against alien invasion. At the meeting, Professor Liemo was elected as the first director of the Earth Defense Bureau with 197 votes, and the 4 permanent members of the Security Council each received a deputy director position. At this moment, the whole world cheered. In the face of crisis, mankind finally put aside their past grudges and united sincerely. The little flame of hope ignited in everyone's heart. With hope, everything is possible. China, Yanjing, Earth Defense Bureau. A small white building changed its plaque overnight. Hundreds of soldiers with live ammunition surrounded the small building. Staff members speaking various languages wore umbrella shield uniforms of Mosi technology and hurried into the small building after 3 strict security checks. Liemo stood in front of a vermilion door, looking at the golden doorplate with wet ink mailed on the wall, and couldn't help but sigh. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Originally, he was only responsible for the lives of tens of billions of Pajero people, and now, there are 7 billion more people on Earth. Director, do we need to hold a general meeting now? Zhao Dong, who was following closely behind him, suggested in a low voice. Although the Earth Defense Bureau has been established, colleagues are not familiar with each other. Each country has a representative in the Defense Bureau. So many people, too chaotic. Liemo came back to his senses and pushed open the door. There is no time. Issue the first order immediately, ordering all countries to collect alien meteorites with all their strength. You should know what to do. Looking at Liemo's solemn expression, Zhao Dong's heart trembled, unable to say a word, and turned and walked out of the door. Liemo sat heavily on the office chair, hesitated for a moment, and could not help but dial a number. Academician Fang, how is the inspection of the gold I gave you? A tired voice came from the other side of the phone. Professor Lee, where did you get this strange substance? Although it looks like metal, it does not have the characteristics of ordinary metals after high-ray inspection. It's not metal. Liemo was delighted. It seems that he has found the right person this time. When he was copying the alien low-speed light spacecraft engine, he found that its shell was made of a substance that does not exist on Earth. This substance is extremely strong and has an extremely high melting point, which reminds him of a specialty resource in the African country Wakanda in science fiction movies, so it was named gold. A week ago, he sent the remaining gold after making the navigator engine to Academician Fang of the Southwest Institute of Materials and asked him to help inspect it. After measurement, the number of electrons in the outermost layer of gold is 16. Do you think this is possible? Professor Fang on the other side of the phone was very puzzled. This Liemo was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Although he knew that this substance was not available on Earth, he didn't expect it to be so strange. Because the number of electrons in the outermost layer is an important basis for determining the chemical properties of element. If the number of electrons in the outermost layer is less than 3, it is easy to lose the outermost electrons and reach a stable structure of 8 electrons in the outermost layer, which makes it have strong metallic properties and reducing properties, such as lithium. If the number of electrons in the outermost layer is more than 5, it is easy to gain electrons to reach a stable structure of 8 electrons in the outermost layer, which makes it have strong non-metallic properties and oxidizing properties, such as iodine. When the outermost electrons of the atomic electron layer are 4, it is easy to lose the outermost electrons and gain electrons, so it is easy to combine with other atoms by covalent bonds, such as carbon. When the outermost electrons of the atomic electron layer are 8, such as rare gases, it has reached a stable structure, so it almost does not combine with other element, such as helium. However, due to the influence of the repulsion within the nucleus, the outermost electrons of the atom can never exceed 8, so why can gold exist stably? Liemo thought for a moment and asked, Mr. Fang, put these doubts aside for now. I have a request. Oh, please go ahead. Can you design a set of testing equipment to detect meteorites containing shaking gold? Liemo stated his purpose. Shaking gold, a substance that does not exist on the Earth, is extremely strong and has a melting point of up to 10,000 degrees Celsius. If you have a shield made of shaking gold, you want to extract shaking gold from meteorites? Academician Fang asked in surprise. But how can you be sure that meteorites must contain this strange substance? The Earth has existed for 4.6 billion years, and countless wandering meteorites fall to the ground every year. Liemo explained. With so many meteorites, it is very likely that there will be one containing shaking gold. With an infinitely low probability, a sufficiently large base number will definitely be achieved. Point, you are so optimistic. Academician Fang said in embarrassment. Detection and refining are not impossible. But I need a set of equipment. Send the model of the equipment, and I will arrange for someone to send it to you immediately. Liemo disagreed. Mosey technology has long become a gathering place for high-end equipment in China. Point, this kind of equipment is not available in China. Academician Fang added. It is the latest high-end equipment in the chemical industry of country M. There is only one in the world, and it is absolutely impossible to sell it to the outside world. Send the model of the equipment and I will send it to you in 2 days. Liemo calculated the time required for transportation. This Academician Fang suddenly realized and smiled. I almost forgot that you are now the director of the Earth Defense Bureau. A mere set of equipment is naturally not a problem. How about I will report a few more types of equipment and take advantage of this opportunity? No. Liemo hung up the phone. Chapter 494 Order 1000 Square Meter Room 197 Liaison officers of the Earth Protection Bureau with different skin colors sat at desks with their respective national flags, waiting with bated breath. On the large screen hanging on the wall, under the bright red umbrella shield, a blue planet slowly rotated. Umbrella shield protects the Earth. This is the logo of the Earth Protection Bureau. According to the final decision of the Earth Conference, all power belongs to the Earth Protection Bureau, wherever the umbrella shield Earth appears. Although the 197 liaison officers looked serious, their eyes were all shining. They knew that the red phone on the desk had the power to mobilize a country. It was a great honor to be a member of this organization with supreme power on Earth. They were looking forward to the issuance of the first order. Hello everyone. A young man with a flat head pushed open the door and announced loudly, now I am issuing the first order of the Earth Protection Bureau on behalf of the director. It's finally here. They sat up straight and listened attentively. The director requires all countries to immediately hand in all meteorites from outer space, within a month. Meteorites from outer space? The Earth is about to be destroyed. What does Professor Liemo need these natural solid fragments that fell from space to the Earth for? The liaison specialists of various countries looked puzzled. They had imagined that the first order of the Earth Defense Agency would be to form an interstellar fleet, collect global nuclear weapons, to make a super bomb, or even remove some leaders. But is it useful to collect meteorites? Although puzzled, without a moment's hesitation, all the liaison specialists picked up the red phone and conveyed this incredible order to their respective countries. In the liaison room, each language was intertwined, conveying the same order. Now announce the second order. After the flat-headed man confirmed that all the liaisons had completed their tasks, he took out a list from the folder. The director requires the M country to immediately transport the equipment on the list to Mosey Technology within 2 days. Mr. Stallone, please pass the list to your government. As he said, he strode to the desk with the stars and stripes and handed the document to a middle-aged man with a hooked nose and blue eyes. Facing the documents handed over, Stallone was slightly stunned. When he caught a glimpse of the unfriendly eyes from the people around him, he suddenly understood and stood up modestly. We, Country M, guarantee to complete the task. Facing the invasion of alien warships, a few dozen high-end equipment are nothing. I believe those uncles in Congress will understand which one is more important. The short-haired man turned back to the front desk and scanned with sharp eyes. The order issued by the director must be resolutely and thoroughly implemented. As liaison specialists, you must take the responsibility of supervising the execution of orders. Once the Security Bureau finds that any country deliberately shirks its responsibility, it will be severely punished. The liaison specialists were shocked. They understood that the assistant director was not just talking nonsense. After reaching a unanimous agreement at the Earth Conference, many well-known sociologists pointed out that it was not appropriate to hand over the global military power to a scientist. Scientists have a transcendent and rational character, and rationality often means stubbornness. Once they have made up their minds, they will never change. Once any country violates the order of the Earth Defense Agency, the scientist director will most likely use the military power in his hands to start a war in order to punish the country. War is not a joke. Looking at each other, communicating silently, the liaison specialists picked up the phone one after another. Hello, Mr. President. Please execute the order of the Earth Defense Agency immediately. Hello, Ms. Prime Minister. This is Lindsay. Please mobilize the power of the whole country to collect the meteorites that Professor Liemo needs. Mr. President, this is Stallone. Please send the equipment on the list to China immediately. You know. In the director's office, Liemo was frowning, holding the mouse on the computer, drawing a complex design. Various messy lines are densely intertwined, forming an umbrella shield shape. From a structural point of view, this is a shield. From a functional analysis, it has the ability to resist attacks. But the owner of the design did not seem satisfied, hesitated for a moment, and finally pressed the delete button. What's missing? Liemo closed his eyes and muttered to himself. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Zhao Dong pushed open the door and looked at the thin young man in the office with admiration. Boss, the whole world is executing your order now. Among them, Europe is the most active. They have collected 10 tons of meteorites and are installing them. It is expected to arrive within 24 hours. All the countries in the world are executing the same order from the same person, which is beyond Zhao Dong's imagination. Although those countries had to vote in favor at the Earth Conference due to the approaching crisis. But Zhao Dong is not an idealist. He understands that in the international community, sometimes agreements are meant to be overturned. When he issued a mandatory order in the liaison office, he was actually very uneasy, fearing that those countries that are good at breaking the contract would use various reasons to shirk responsibility. Unexpectedly, the leaders of these countries cooperated so well. Liemo stood up, walked to the sofa, and smiled. Zhao Dong, are you worried? Zhao Dong nodded heavily. Pour me a cup of tea, and I'll tell you why they are so cooperative with the Earth Security Agency's orders. Liemo sat on the sofa and stretched to relieve his fatigue. Boss, your tea. Zhao Dong handed over the teacup. Liemo looked at the green tea leaves in the cup and said with a wry smile, they are afraid that I will quit. Quit? The Earth Protection Agency has become the most powerful unit on Earth, and being the director is an honor. Only a fool would quit. Zhao Dong suppressed his doubts. Do you know why I didn't come out immediately after discovering the alien spacecraft? Liemo took a sip of tea and asked with a smile. How do I know? Zhao Dong suppressed his doubts again. He knew that his boss had a bad habit of asking and answering questions himself. Sometimes he asked questions without your answering. Sure enough, I'm waiting for the world situation to deteriorate to an unmanageable level. Liemo put down his teacup, his eyes flickering. In this way, those foreign leaders can give up their last glimmer of fantasy. 2 months is enough time for those countries to understand that with the current strength of the Earth, it is absolutely impossible to fight against alien spaceships. At the same time, after 2 months of chaos, they urgently need a shield to attract the attention of the people. I'm this shield. They need me to lead the world to resist the invasion of alien warships. So, no matter what exaggerated demands I make now, they will be met. Chapter 495 Meteorite Mountain. 8,848.86 meters. The height of Mount Everest. The highest peak on Earth 1,012.31 meters. The height of the artificial meteorite mountain of Mosey technology. There is no way to count how many meteorites there are on Earth. However, the day after the Earth Defense Agency issued a meteorite collection order to the world, the normal freight order between countries was completely disrupted. Governments of various countries issued compulsory requisition orders, and all means of transportation, including the 10,000-ton giant ships parked at the docks, the heavy trucks at the freight distribution centers, and the international trains across the Eurasian continent, were all loaded with meteorites and drove to the Mosey Technology Meteorite Research Center in the suburbs of Yanjing. These meteorites came from all corners of the universe, and may have been millions of light years apart, or may have passed by each other, but now they are gathered on the land of China, and finally formed a mountain as high as a kilometer. In front of the mountain, an old man with white hair and wearing a navy blue Zhongshan suit pointed at the top of the mountain in disbelief. Is this mountain full of meteorites? Liemo showed a trace of bitterness. Academician Fang, these are all meteorites. In his previous impression, meteorites are a kind of unburned stone, iron or stone iron mixed material, which is very rare. You want me to detect meteorites containing shaking gold from this mountain within a month? Academician Fang's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe that he would say such an unrealistic thing. Finding a specific piece of meteorites from tens of millions of meteorites, what is the difference between this and looking for a needle in a haystack or a grain of rice in the sea? Yes, we only have 1 month. Liemo knew that this was an impossible task, but he had to nod his head to confirm. Alas, this mountain is probably worth millions of tons, right? Academician Fang sighed, knowing that this task might be related to the future of the earth. Liemo took a list from Zhaodong and said with a smile, a total of 9,000,005 tons, and the last batch of 200,000 tons is on the way. If we use traditional methods, it is absolutely impossible to complete this task. Academician Fang frowned and thought for a moment, but I can improve the screening mechanism. But, Liemo instantly thought of the melting point of gold, a substance that does not exist on Earth, as high as 20,000 degrees Celsius, and clapped his hands. You need a high temperature furnace, right? Hafnium alloy, which has the highest melting point on Earth, will also melt at a temperature of 40 to 15 degrees Celsius. If this meteorite mountain is put into a high temperature of up to 10,000 degrees Celsius, ordinary substances will melt at high temperatures, and the solid substance left at the end is gold. I will immediately arrange for the engineers of Mosey Technology to build a smelting furnace here. Liemo said as he took out a mobile phone from his pocket and typed a line of text on it with his fingers flying. 10 minutes later, there was a sound of da-da-da-da in the air, and a helicopter with an umbrella shield logo painted on its tail appeared in the sky. On the ground, several red lasers instantly intertwined on the helicopter. Zhaodong. Liemo turned around and waved his hand. Zhaodong picked up the intercom. Target safe. Contact locked. The helicopter landed smoothly on the tarmac, and a dark-faced burly man ran over. Boss. Chief Engineer Hao. Liemo took the initiative to greet him and patted him on the shoulder. I'm going to trouble you again. Chief Engineer Hao grinned and said, what are you going to build this time? I don't have any other skills. I'm just a mason. Liemo pointed to the open space next to the mountain. Build a high temperature furnace here. Academician Fang will tell you the specific requirements. If you need other construction units to cooperate, contact Zhaodong. The sooner the better. Chief Engineer Hao nodded continuously. Don't worry, boss, I know what to do. As he said, he pointed to the sun in the sky. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. When the sun sets, the foundation of the furnace will definitely be ready. Such a large amount of work can be completed in just a few hours. It's incredible. Although Liemo was somewhat doubtful, he nodded and said, I'm at ease with you doing the work. As the sun set, the clouds in the sky glowed with golden light. Hundreds of construction vehicles, including excavators, muck trucks, pile drivers, and cranes, poured into the small site. Under the dispatch of a white hat, they were arranged in front and back according to their respective working order. They cooperated with each other without interfering with each other, and a foundation of more than 500 square meters gradually took shape at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this speed, the entire project would take about 5 days to complete. This is faster than the world construction record of 19 days for a 57-story building set by China. This old Hao has some real skills. Liemo stood in the office building and couldn't help but admire. Being able to command more than 10,000 people and thousands of construction equipment in an orderly manner has surpassed technology and become the art of construction dispatching. Boss, something happened. Zhaodong ran upstairs in a hurry and shouted loudly in the surprised eyes of dozens of black uniforms. Liemo couldn't help sighing in his heart. This qualified bodyguard was still a little lacking in his skills as an assistant. Didn't he understand that at this critical moment, any unexpected event could disrupt the hearts of people who had finally come together? Ahem. What are you panicking about? Liemo didn't even turn his head back. Didn't you see that I was admiring the masterpiece of Chief Engineer Hao? This old Hao really does what he says. The foundation has been dug before the sun sets. What a talent. Zhao Dong realized his gaffe at this moment, slowed down his pace, and whispered, "Boss, there is news from the laboratory data center. The signal shielding system we installed in the solar system has discovered a directional extremely long-wave signal emitted from the Earth. The main direction of the signal is the direction of the alien spacecraft. Extremely long-wave signal. Long-wave signals are often used in the field of deep space communication due to their low attenuation and the ability to penetrate rocks and soil. Although extremely long-wave signals are a type of long-wave signals and are theoretically the most ideal means of long-distance communication, they are difficult to be effectively applied because their wavelength is as high as 100,000 kilometers, and it is difficult to produce them using conventional means. On Earth, there are only a handful of laboratories and observatories that are capable of producing extremely long-wave signals. It seems that some people can't sit still anymore. Liemo remained calm, turned around and looked at Academician Fang beside him, with a sincere face and tone. "Mr. Fang, I'll leave this to you. Daojin is crucial to the Earth Defense Agency's plan." Academician Fang sighed. "Professor Lee, I will do my best, even if you don't tell me deliberately. But you, the hope of mankind on Earth, is pinned on you, so you should take good care of yourself. This heavy burden is not easy to shoulder." Inside the Hanki car, Liemo's face was serious. "Zhao Dong, describe the details in full." Chapter 496 Humanoid. On the rugged mountain road, a group of young men wearing towels and grey robes staggered, looking up from time to time at the distant figure in front of them. Sunrise and sunset, day and night change. No need to stop, no need to eat, wading in the river and climbing over rocks. The silent team appeared silently in front of a dark cave deep in the mountains. The messenger who was responsible for leading the way was standing under a dead tree at this moment, looking up, staring at the sun in the sky motionlessly. Is this the destination? There was a little confusion in the team, and several pairs of eyes communicated with each other silently. "Mr. Messenger, this is where the high priest is." A young man with bright red paint on his forehead looked at the dark cave with fear. "Geludil, be quiet." Under the dead tree, the messenger who had been in and out of the cave several times, with a gleam in his eyes, scolded, "Did you forget what I told you to pay attention to before you set out?" The young man named Geludil seemed to have thought of something, and he took a step back and looked up at the sky. In front of the cave, everyone looked up at the sky. In the sky, several white clouds floated leisurely, changing their shapes from time to time. A fiery red sun hung low on the opposite mountain, filling half of the sky. 30 minutes later, the messenger withdrew his gaze with an intoxicated look, turned around and ordered, "Okay, now everyone take off your clothes immediately and prepare to follow me into the cave. In the cave, no matter what you see or what happens, you are not allowed to make a sound. Otherwise." He made a gesture of wiping his neck expressionlessly. Everyone trembled. Geludil stepped into the cave naked, and a damp and rotten smell came to his nose. The sharp rocks on the ground instantly rubbed the soles of his feet. A sharp pain came, and he clenched his teeth without saying a word. The depths of the cave were pitch black. Garlamdil closed his eyes slightly, his pupils dilated, and the scene gradually became clear. The night seemed like day. The cave was 10 meters high, and made of dark black rocks. The surface of the rocks was engraved with patterns composed of complex lines. From a distance, they looked like pairs of terrifying eyes. The eyes revealed endless resentment and loneliness. Shivering inexplicably, Garlamdil retracted his gaze and followed the messenger's steps slowly into the depths of the cave. After walking for an unknown period of time, a sound of flowing water came into his ears. "Is there an underground river in this cave?" Garlamdil looked up and looked forward. A stream that could be crossed with a big step lay on the ground of the cave. The stream water gathered along the rock wall and flowed into the black hole opposite. The messenger raised his foot to cross the stream and continued to walk deeper. In the team, the young man at the front imitated the messenger's action and raised his right foot. Something happened. A black shadow flashed by, and several splashes of water appeared in the stream. The young man who raised his right foot disappeared without a trace in an instant, and the air was filled with a choking smell. This Geludel raised his right hand, which was clenched into a fist, and the team behind him stopped moving immediately. At the beginning of Hangmeng, the high priest led the ancestors to the Azure Star. The Azure Star changed drastically. The Mother Star's ancestors were destroyed and lingered on. The high priest had to find a cave with peculiar geology to live in, and settled some creatures from the Mother Star here. Among them was a carnivore with an extremely fast speed, named Lizard Tiger. It was 5 feet long, and had an extremely fishy smell. It usually hid in the stream. Once the prey approached, it would launch a lightning and thunder attack. After being domesticated, the lizard tiger can exist as a bodyguard to attack those abnormal invaders. The words in the biography of the high priest appeared in Geludel's mind. Geludel closed his eyes and recalled the messenger's actions just now. So that's it. He turned around and pointed his finger at his left foot. Everyone behind him nodded. Lift your left foot and gently step over to safety. Geludel breathed a sigh of relief and looked up at the messenger in front of him, but caught a glimpse of a playful smile. He clenched his fists. The end of darkness is endless light. Stepping into the light, an inexplicable pressure surged in Geludel's heart, and he couldn't help but bend down and kneel on the rocky ground. Everyone knelt, including the messenger. High priest, these 12 now there are 11 ancestors, that is, carefully cultivated humanoids. The messenger's voice trembled a little. Their appearance, physiological structure, and living habits are almost exactly the same as humans. Silence. Geludel's forehead oozed a little sweat. For a long time. Raise your head. A majestic voice came from the light. Geludel propped himself up with his hands and looked up. In the light, the high priest was sitting cross-legged in a metal cage made of finely woven copper wires. His dark eyes were flashing with purple light. Do you know your use? The high priest's voice was not loud, but it hit Geludel's heart like a whip. He tried his best to suppress the fear in his heart. High priest, we humanoids will take advantage of the chaos of the Earth's human beings to mix into the human world. Use is the meaning of the existence of the ancestors. Geludel knew that every ancestor must have some use. Once he lost his use, the only thing waiting for him was to become food for his hometown. It's been 1,000,000 years. We have finally waited for this moment. The high priest stood up, and a trace of red appeared on his pale face. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. Geludel's heart moved. According to the biography of the high priest, when the high priest led 100,000 ancestors to this blue planet on a spacecraft, he was preparing to transform the surface environment to adapt to the large-scale colonization of ancestors. A huge meteorite hit the Azure Star, causing a catastrophic change in the planet's environment. Almost all 100,000 ancestors were killed or injured. At this time, the wise and powerful high priest used the damaged spacecraft as a shelter and ordered all the ancestors to enter a dormant state. This dormancy lasted for 1,000,000 years until the energy of the spacecraft was exhausted. When the high priest led the ancestors to reappear on the ground, they unexpectedly discovered that the entire Azure Star had been occupied by an intelligent animal that looked like the ancestors. They called themselves humans and named the Azure Star Earth. Humans are native creatures that evolved from the Earth after the meteorite disaster. They are more adaptable to the living environment of the Earth than the ancestors. And after 1,000,000 years of dormancy, the high priest has forgotten most of the mother planet's technology. Hibernation. The high priest chose to hide the existence of the ancestors, hiding in the dark and interfering with the development and evolution of mankind through covert means, until they successfully established a base on Mars. The humanoid plan was officially launched at this moment. Garlamdil and his companions had been living in the big forest until the messenger brought the high priest's order. Chapter 497. Second generation ancestor. In the cave, Geludel recalled everything he knew, and a question arose in his heart, a question that only the high priest could answer. He took a deep breath. High priest, how can you be sure that the alien spaceship cannot destroy the Earth? The humanoid plan is to let these ancestors disguise themselves as humans, blend into human society, and eventually seize control of the Mars base to achieve the goal of returning to the mother planet. But with the arrival of the alien spaceship, humans and even the Earth will be destroyed, so this elaborate disguise will become meaningless. How dare you question the high priest's plan? The messenger next to him was red in the face and rebuked. The high priest in the metal net waved his hand with a warm smile. An ancestor with his own ideas. Very good. Although the high priest was smiling, Geludil caught a glimpse of a fierce look in his eyes. He lowered his head and explained in a low voice, returning to the mother planet is the wish of all ancestors. I'm worried. Ha ha ha. The high priest raised his hands and laughed wildly. A second generation born on Earth will also worry about the ancestors of the school. It seems that the mission of the hometown has been completed very well. Geludil was shocked. The ancestors are divided into two categories. The first category is the original ancestors who came to the Earth with the high priest millions of years ago. They are few in number and hold high positions. The messenger next to him is one of them. The second category is the second generation of ancestors born on Earth. Since the ancestors came to Earth, they have lost their reproductive ability. After the catastrophe, seeing that the tribe was shrinking day by day, the high priest used the only materials and energy on the spacecraft to create an artificial creature, the hometown. The second generation of ancestors now are all children of the hometown. The second generation ancestors were at the bottom of the ancestors and were born to serve the original ancestors. They could be said to be slaves. As slaves, they should have the consciousness of slaves. Geludil now regretted why he did not hide his doubts in his heart as usual. He immediately prostrated himself on the ground, with his head pressed against the cold rock, to express his piety. That's all. The high priest recovered a bit after laughing wildly. All the ancestors are the people of the mother planet, so it is reasonable for you to ask this question. As he said that, he walked to the metal net with a serious face. I'm not sure that the Earth can survive this disaster, so I prepared two plans. You humanoids only need to complete the infiltration mission. Now, leave here. I have memorized your faces in my mind. If you sacrifice, you will definitely return to the embrace of the ancestors. Watching the 11 figures disappear in the darkness, the messenger stepped forward and whispered, High Priest, these second generations are too ignorant now. Do you want to kill them and replace them with a new batch? He was dissatisfied with these humanoids on the way, especially the leader, who seemed honest, but there was a hint of stubbornness in his eyes. And stubbornness is what the primitive ancestors hate the most. There is no time. The high priest sat cross-legged on the ground again. According to the news from the observatory, the alien spacecraft will arrive on Earth in 2 months. It is too late to retrain new humanoids. The messenger smiled flatteringly. Yes, yes. For the sake of our ancestors' plan, let them go this time. As he spoke, he raised his head and saw the young man's ruddy face. He said timidly, High Priest, the dark chest we have planted in the ground command center of the JWST telescope has sent news. After speaking, he lowered his head and said nothing more. Tell me, what bad news is it? The high priest sighed. The messenger said cautiously, the signal we sent using the JWST orbital satellite was intercepted by Mosey technology. It turns out that Professor Liemo has already installed a deep space shielding system in the solar system. The redness on the young man's face disappeared immediately, and he became extremely pale again. But don't worry, I will immediately deal with anyone who may leak information. The messenger added hurriedly, I will never let the Earth Defense Agency track us down here. The high priest closed his eyes and did not move. The air in the cave seemed to stop flowing. The messenger who knelt on the ground felt that he had difficulty breathing. Get rid of it. The high priest opened his eyes and stared at his eyes. Get rid of it all, including the chess piece. Liemo has already noticed us. Now that he controls the power of the Earth Defense Agency, he will definitely not let go of this excellent plan. The chess piece must also be disposed of. What a pity. A beautiful figure appeared in the messenger's mind. He swallowed his saliva unconsciously and was about to beg for mercy. If you make a mistake, you must pay the price. The high priest said in a cold tone. Zoo Dudley, don't forget this rule. The messenger Zoo Dudley trembled in his heart. This name has not been mentioned for a long time. Yes, high priest. He lowered his head again, lowered his head, and disappeared into the darkness backwards. With the deep well, the chess piece is no longer important. The high priest closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep again. In Pennsylvania, USA, the ground control center of the JWST telescope. Director Kuma stood in front of the French window with a coffee cup, quietly admiring the harmonious scene in front of the building. More than a dozen young people dressed in volunteer uniforms were holding flyers to explain something to passers-by. Although I don't know whether the earth will be destroyed, at least it is calm now. A month has passed since the chaos, and Director Kuma still has lingering fears when he recalls the scene at that time. The exquisite villa he spent millions of dollars to buy was burned to ashes by the mob. Although his wife saved her life after begging hard, her long black hair was shaved off. Fortunately, there is Professor Liemo on Earth. On the second day after the establishment of the Earth Protection Bureau, Director Professor Liemo held a live televised meeting for people all over the world. He delivered a speech on the dignity of human civilization to people all over the world. The universe gives birth to all things, and all things have dignity. When facing the attack of wild wolves, deer will surround the weak in the middle. When facing the attack of eagles, hens will protect chicks under their wings. This is a kind of dignity of living things. Millions of years ago, humans evolved from the smallest single cells to intelligent creatures, becoming the masters of the earth, and forming a brilliant human civilization. Since the birth of human civilization, we have possessed the dignity of civilization. The dignity of civilization is the only impression that human civilization can leave on this empty universe. In a critical moment, will you be afraid of death, or face it bravely? The choice you make today may be recorded by billions of alien civilizations, and become the true story of human civilization on Earth. Life is short, and will eventually be lost in the long river of time. The only meaning is the role you play in this story. Is it cowardice or courage? Please make your own choice. Chapter 498 Solution. After a speech that was almost rebuking for more than an hour, the first director of the Earth Protection Agency revealed that he had a way to fight the crisis. Fight against alien spacecraft? So funny? The whole world stopped instantly. After the reporters repeatedly confirmed the existence of this impossible survival, the whole world was boiling. Director Kuma, who was lying flat on the sofa at the time, jumped up excitedly. The mobs holding torches on the street looked at the frightened old man in the wooden house and silently put down their torches. The hungry workers lined up and walked into the factory. The small owners of the roadside shops smiled and reopened. The construction machinery began to clean up the ruins on the roadside. With hope, there is everything, and the human world is alive again. A few months ago, Professor Liemo was still called an evil scientist, but now he has become the savior of mankind. Director Kuma returned to his desk and picked up the Time magazine of that month. On the cover, Professor Liemo stretched out his hands and held the earth in his arms. The title was written in large black fonts and brightly, Professor Liemo, the guardian of the earth. I'm so envious. If I could be Liemo, how great it would be. Knock knock. A quick knock on the door broke Director Kuma's fantasy. He put the magazine into the drawer and picked up a document on the table. Come in. Director, something happened. A young man in uniform rushed into the office waving a document. It was Olaf Karras, his confidant. Director Kuma put down the magazine in his hand and raised his head nonchalantly. Karras, what's the matter? Why are you so anxious? This is a fax from the Earth Defense Bureau. Take a look. Karras was panting. He crawled all the way here after receiving the fax. Director Kuma looked at him suspiciously, took the document, and was shocked after a closer look. The Earth Defense Bureau is going to send someone to the center to investigate. Since its establishment, the Earth Defense Bureau has become the management agency of the Earth. Whether it is the primitive tribes in Africa or the developed countries in Europe, they all bow their heads and obey it. Why are they here to investigate? The command of the JWST telescope has long been taken away by Mosey technology. What else are they investigating? Director Kuma angrily threw the document on the table. Maybe. Karras lowered his head and hesitated. Director Kuma hurriedly asked, what do you know? Tell me quickly. When the investigators come, everything will be too late. This week, newspapers have been constantly publishing information on the treatment of those who violated the orders of the Earth Protection Agency. At the least, they were removed from their posts, and at the most, they were thrown into prison. Do you still remember the extremely long wave test 3 days ago? Karras raised his head. His eyes were straight. Although the center has lost the command of the JWST telescope, it can use the long-wave transmitter carried by the orbiting satellite to carry out some simple scientific research projects, such as the extremely long-wave test. 3 days ago, Director Kuma remembered, isn't it just a normal scientific research test? How could it attract the attention of the Earth Protection Agency? At that time, you left the command room with Miss Ruth in the middle of the test. I changed the test code. Karis took a deep breath and was very frank. What information did you send into space with the long-wave transmitter? Director Kuma stood up from his chair in shock. According to the original test process, he needed to stay in the command room until the test was over. But that day, Ruth gave him a very good suggestion and promised that he would not regret it. I don't know the content either. Karis shook his head in frustration. The code was given to me by Secretary Ruth. You know, in the JWST Center, Ruth's orders are equivalent to your orders. I can't disobey. Ruth? Is it really related to her? Why did she do this? She was originally just a small barmaid. She was able to have her current status entirely because of his support. Director Kuma felt betrayed by the closest person in his heart, and the pain made him almost breathless. Where is Ruth? He supported his body with his hands and shouted hoarsely, "Call her quickly." Karis on the opposite side lowered his head and did not move. According to the clock-in record, she did not come to work today. What information did this damn Ruth send into space? Could it be? A terrible thought came to Director Kuma's mind, and he trembled all over. It's over. We are done. Beep. The sharp sound of the phone broke the solemn atmosphere. Hello. Karis glanced at the director who was slumped on the sofa and walked up to answer the phone. Director, it's Miss Ruth. She asked you to answer the phone in person. This bitch dare to call me. Director Kuma's heart was burning with anger, and he snatched the phone. Bitch. What information did you send into space using JWST? Ruth on the other side of the phone changed her usual gentleness and sneered. Is it important? Anyway, in 2 hours, you will become prisoners. Is this still the secretary who bowed his head and was full of charm yesterday? Director Kuma couldn't believe his ears. He was about to say the most vicious words imaginable to the phone. Listen carefully now. If you want to live, come downstairs immediately. Ruth spoke very quickly on the phone. I'll be waiting for you across the street. Red Mustang sports car. Limited time, 10 minutes. Are they going to let him escape? Do they really want to abandon everything and live a wandering life with that vicious woman for the rest of their lives? Director Kuma held the phone, hesitant. Director, we can't hesitate any longer. Once the investigators from the Earth Protection Bureau retrieve the recorded information from the host, we will be completely finished. Karis on the side looked anxious, betraying humanity. This crime is too great. Maybe we can only spend the rest of our lives in a cold prison. Director Kuma shuddered as he saw himself squatting in a dark corner with a cockroach swaggering in front of him. Don't attract other people's attention. Director Kuma walked out of the office with a normal look on his face, and Karis followed closely with his head down. Director, this is this month's payroll, and I need your signature. The elevator door was about to close, but was stopped by a hand. The center's finance officer was holding a thick document. Selina, I have urgent matters now, and we'll talk about the payroll later. Stepping out of the building, Director Kuma saw a red Mustang sports car parked across the street, and he breathed a sigh of relief. This bitch finally has some conscience. Karis behind him ignored the cars running on the street and suddenly ran towards the red Mustang. You on a tall building not far away, a man with a towel tied around his head and wearing camouflaged clothes held a telescope. Report. Target number 3 has boarded the car. Report. Target number 2 has boarded the car. Report. Targets 1, 2, 3, all gathered. The Mustang car started, requesting instructions. A satisfactory answer came from the intercom on his ear, and the camouflaged man's mouth cracked, grinning and pressing the detonator in his hand. Boom. A loud noise broke the tranquility of the street, and the Mustang turned into a ball of fire, and pedestrians on the roadside panicked. The man in camouflage uniform picked up the telescope again, and after careful confirmation, report, mission accomplished, request to retreat. Chapter 499 Arrangement. China, Yanjing. Earth Protection Bureau. In front of the majestic gate, two sentinels in blue uniforms stood straight, with colorful bouquets of flowers at their feet. Not far away, a 5-year-old girl, under the watchful eyes of her parents, carefully placed a stuffed teddy bear in the middle of the bouquet, staring with her big black eyes. "Uncles, the earth is very good, you must protect it." The sentinel still stared into the distance expressionlessly, but his chest was heaving. Solemn. In the director's office, 3 soldiers in blue uniforms with umbrella and shield badges on their chests stood upright with their hands behind their backs and their heads held high with serious expressions. Liemo picked up the document they had just sent and was slightly moved. "Dead. All 3 dead." The soldier with 5 stripes embroidered on his armband stopped and answered loudly, reporting to the director. When the investigation team led by me arrived at the JWST Telescope Command Center, Director Kumar and Karas had already escaped from the building. On the street, I witnessed them getting into a red Mustang, and then the Mustang exploded violently. According to the DNA test report, it is confirmed that the 3 people who died in the explosion were Kumar, Karas and Ruth. After speaking, he walked forward. "It was my subordinates who failed to do their duty and went too late. It was the cooperation notice I issued to the JWST center that led to their escape. Request punishment from the director." The enemy took the initiative again. What went wrong? Liemo put down the inquiry and sighed. "Team leader Chen Shuxian, you are following my orders this time. If there is a mistake, it can only be me." "But, isn't it too coincidental?" He stood up and walked to Chen Shuxian. "This car bombing is obviously a premeditated operation to silence people. It takes a lot of time to prepare the car and the bomb and lure the 3 people into the car. Simple and effective." This is Chen Shuxian's feeling at the explosion site. A remote-controlled car bomb not only killed the 3 target people, but also destroyed all the clues in the car. Master. The person who designed this plan is a master. Chen Shuxian thought. So, the enemy may have received the information before we set out, which can explain why they can prepare in advance. But the matter of the investigation team going to the JWST center was decided by you at the last minute. An incredible thought suddenly appeared in his mind, and his face changed drastically. Could it be? "Be careful with your words." Liemo knew the idea and stopped him. "The Earth Protection Bureau is the only hope for all mankind." Chen Shuxian immediately understood his concerns and shouted, "I understand." He knew that, once his idea was confirmed, it would definitely set off an uproar in the Earth Protection Bureau and even the whole world. This is definitely not a good thing for the human beings on Earth who are in danger of destruction. "Okay. You all worked hard. Go back and take a rest. There are new tasks." Liemo looked at the backs of the review team leaving, sat heavily on the sofa, and his face gradually became ugly. Who leaked the secrets? The Earth Protection Bureau is nominally jointly established by various countries, and representatives from 197 countries around the world must be stationed here. But these representatives are only responsible for conveying the orders of the Protection Bureau, and their authority is not even as great as that of ordinary staff. The top officials of the Security Bureau who can really access the top secret information are all executives of Mosey Technology, and they are all Liemo's confidants. Now the top secret information has been leaked. Names are changing rapidly in his mind. Could it be him? Liemo muttered to himself. It's impossible. Without Mosey Technology, he would have been forced to jump off the building. Why did he do this? At the time, his character test was as high as 9 points, so it should be impossible for him to betray. After 10 minutes of thinking, a Mosey Technology executive became his main suspect. Excluding all the impossible, no matter how incredible the remaining ones are, they must be the truth. Make up for the loss. Liemo immediately took out his mobile phone and called Zhaodong. "Come to the office immediately." 20 minutes later, Zhaodong, with a puzzled look on his face, pushed open the door. He was originally on vacation today and was about to accompany his wife and children to watch the last movie before the end of the world, but he suddenly received a call from the director. "Dad, you should go quickly. Professor Lee may have something urgent." "Husband, big things are important. Xiaoxio and I will not watch the movie today. Wait for you." Understanding and tolerance. Zhaodong took a deep breath Suppressing his inner dissatisfaction, report to the director. The assistant director has finished his vacation and is reporting here. Vacation Liemo was stunned for a moment and instantly thought that Zhaodong should be with his family today. Oh, sorry, I neglected it. He stood up and smiled apologetically. There is a very important matter that you need to do immediately. After this matter is done, I will give you 2 days off. This great scientist of mankind, the director of the Security Bureau, actually apologized to himself for this trivial matter. With such a boss, what else can I say? Director, please give the order. A warm current surged into my heart, and Zhaodong's throat was hoarse. Liemo stood up, picked up a document that had been signed and sealed, and handed it over. You go to Mosey Technology immediately and convey my order. Suspend the Global College entrance examination. Temporarily close the Mars base and suspend personnel transportation. Any flight plan of the navigator must be reported in advance. Freeze the personnel transfer within Mosey Technology, and at the same time, reduce the security authority of all senior executives by 1 level. A piece of ordinary A4 paper, but written with so many important orders, Zhaodong's hands shook unconsciously. He knew that once these orders were announced, they would definitely cause a lot of controversy. Mosey Technology's Mars base has become a safe haven in the case of the imminent destruction of the Earth. On Earth, many bigwigs have spent all their wealth just to get a place to land on the Mars base, but they were ejected by Professor Liemo on the grounds of violating the principle of fairness. After several months of global college entrance examinations, Mosey Technology has selected 2,000 humans from around the world as members of the Mars base. These lucky people are all looking forward to landing on Mars as soon as possible to avoid the impending destruction. Now, Director, how should we explain to those new members of the Mars base? He asked carefully. Explain. Does Mosey Technology need to explain to others? But for the stability of the world. Liemo pondered for a moment. Add an exam. Announce to the public that due to the limited carrying capacity of the Mars base, Mosey Technology has decided to add an exam item for the 2,000 selected Earth humans. Good idea. Zhaodong continued to ask, what is the additional test? Physics or chemistry? As the first group of humans to colonize alien planets, they need to be able to remain calm even when a mountain collapses in front of them and a deer rises on their left without blinking. Liemo smiled and said, so, the content of the additional test is to examine their performance in the crisis of Earth's destruction. Holy friends. Chapter 500. Others are the butchers, I'm the meat. 4.3k. A crescent moon hung low over the skyscrapers, emitting a cold glow, filling half of the night sky of Yanjing and dispelling some of the darkness. Late at night, under the dim street lights, 5 camouflage painted tracked armored vehicles, with billowing black smoke at the rear, sped along the wide street under the guidance of motorcycles with flashing warning lights. The roar of the armored vehicles broke the tranquility of the night sky. Lights were lit up on the tops of the tall buildings, and countless heads popped out. Is there something wrong again? No, this is the Earth Defense Bureau dispatched. Did you see the umbrella shield Earth logo on the armored vehicle? No one tried to go downstairs to watch, because the surrounding streets had been turned into a restricted area by the Earth Defense Bureau 2 hours ago. The tracked armored vehicle let out a wheeze and stopped in front of the Earth Defense Bureau building. The tailgate opened, and the gray-haired academician Wang trembled and got out of the car. With sharp eyes, he looked around vigilantly. When the golden umbrella shield Earth logo on the building came into view, he breathed a sigh of relief. He looked tired, but he didn't have time to rest. He held the black briefcase in his arms and stepped into the building under the sanitation of more than 10 blue uniforms. In the hall, a young man with a flat head came out with a smile. Academician Wang, the director is waiting for you. Academician Wang smiled and nodded, still holding the briefcase tightly in his arms. Thank you for your hard work, Assistant Zhao. There was no tedious security check or virus isolation test. 10 minutes later, Academician Wang came to a large office. On the coffee table in front of the sofa, there was a steaming teacup. Please sit down. The director is handling some trivial matters. Zhaodong smiled and looked at the more than 10 blue uniforms behind Academician Wang. Brothers, you have worked hard. I will ask the comrades in the reception department to take you to the cafeteria for a simple meal. There was no response. The blue uniforms were expressionless and motionless. Zhao Dong smiled awkwardly. Don't worry, Academician Wang is absolutely safe here. Since the establishment of the Earth Security Bureau, there have been 5,000 Special Forces soldiers on duty 24 hours a day outside the building. The building is made of 10 meters thick high ductility concrete, which can stand up in earthquakes below magnitude 10, enough to withstand the attack of nuclear weapons. And the building needs to go through 11 strict security checks. In this world, there is no safer place than the Earth Defense Bureau. I'm sorry, Captain Zhao, it's my duty. A captain like blue uniform straightened his chest and rejected his kindness. The door of the office was pushed open silently from the outside. Liemo staggered in. When he saw Academician Wang surrounded by blue uniforms, he was immediately surprised. Old Wang, I finally waited for you. Academician Wang was about to answer. More than a dozen blue uniforms saluted in unison. Report to the director. The 12th Special Operations Group has successfully completed the mission and requests instructions. Okay. Liemo held the chair and walked to the desk. Comrades, you have worked hard. You can go with Assistant Zhao to rest for a while. It's not hard. The blue uniform said in a high tone. In the office, an old man and a young man sat opposite each other. Professor Li, your hair? Academician Wang put down his teacup and couldn't help wondering in his heart. When they met at Meteorite Mountain last time, the young scientist still had black hair. How come it turned white overnight? Liemo opened his bloodshot eyes and smiled bitterly. It's nothing, just a little tired. White hair overnight, is it tired or sad? Academician Wang sighed silently in his heart. He carefully placed the briefcase that he had been holding tightly in his arms for 2 hours on the table, unzipped it, and took out a black box from it with trembling hands. This is the shaking gold you need, only 2 kilograms in total. 2 kilograms of tens of millions of tons of meteorite. Only this little shaking gold was extracted. It seems that a little less needs to be changed. Liemo stretched out his right hand and opened the lid. A piece of silver substance flashed metallic color under the light. Thank you. Before he finished speaking, ding woo, a rapid and sharp alarm sounded. A burst of hurried footsteps sounded in the corridor of the building. Liemo picked up the red phone on the desk and got a piece of news that made his face uncertain. Seeing this scene, Academician Wang stood up. That alien spaceship sent a strange threatening video message to the Earth again. The new century is an era of traffic. Some eye-catching videos can easily get millions of views. Among them, the single MV Take It Slow sung by singer Daddy Yankee has a cumulative view of 6.7 billion times on a certain video website, becoming the most viewed video in the world 3 months ago. But now, it can only rank 5th on the view rankings. The top 4 are Aliens Chop Up the Earth, The Earth is Crashed to Mars, Saw, Earth Edition, and Alien Slavery Age. These 4 videos were sent from alien spacecraft. In the Earth is crashed to Mars, the alien creature with fangs and horns on its head appeared again and hit the blue sphere symbolizing the Earth with a hammer-like object. The blue sphere broke into pieces after colliding with a brown sphere not far away. In Saw, Earth Edition, the alien creature took out a chainsaw from the cabinet and cut a lifelike dummy at will, with blood all over the floor. In the Age of Alien Slaves, alien creatures kicked the dummy that symbolizes the Earthlings to the ground and trampled on it with their hard hooves. Yeah. Liemo took out his mobile phone and took a look, then said apologetically, it seems that I don't have time to entertain you. Dean Wang nodded in understanding. Although the alien spacecraft chose the same background in the video, the scientists on Earth still tried to analyze the information of the alien spacecraft from the smallest differences. In the Deep Space Antenna Control Room, many staff members in blue uniforms stared at the big screen intently. In the corner, a thin old man closed his eyes and stroked a big yellow dog. In this brightly lit and noisy environment, the dog stuck out its tongue and lay on the floor docilely. Director, the alien spacecraft sent a message again. Fang Lanshan immediately stepped forward and pointed at the big screen. This time they used fire attack on the Earth. On the big screen, the alien creature placed a lot of firewood under the blue sphere. It was indeed firewood. Liemo could even see the texture of the wood from the clear picture. Then he took out the black metal from the cabinet and slowly approached the firewood. A raging fire started. The blue sphere turned into a charcoal-like sphere under the scorching flames. The alien creature was dancing strangely on the side, expressing his joy. Burn the earth. Liemo has already named this popular video. This is the 5th video, boss. Fang Lanshan looked puzzled. Have you ever thought about why the alien spacecraft sent this information? They have spaceships that can cross the stars and can easily flatten the earth. Why waste energy sending so many videos to intimidate us? Liemo's heart was shocked. Yes, if it was a declaration of war, the short film Aliens Chop the Earth would be enough. Why would alien spacecraft waste energy? He had summarized several characteristics of cosmic civilization from the stories of alien civilizations told by Big Head Pajero. The most common one was thrifty. Although the universe is vast, its energy is limited. Those civilized races who are well versed in the truth of the universe will never waste money like some people on Earth, who have become rich overnight to buy 2 houses, one for living, and one for viewing, just for fun. The first meeting room of Mosey Technology. Next to the wooden round table, 9 Mosey Technology executives in blue uniforms sat on 10 cream-colored ruin chairs. A team of 10. No, the director of the Mars base, Musk, was missing, but there was an extra skinny old man, Wugushi, and a big yellow dog. Fang Lanshan's heart moved, but he remained calm. He recently heard that his boss, Liemo, sent Zhao Dong to seal off the Mars base, and this should have been Musk's job. Did he make any mistakes? Fang Lanshan couldn't help but worry about this fellow villager. The reason we gathered everyone together today is to use your wisdom to see the truth behind some things. Liemo pushed open the door, pulled over a chair and sat down, and said directly, Fang Lanshan, repeat the doubts you raised just now in the command center. Fang Lanshan sat up straight. As you know, alien spacecraft have sent a total of 5 videos with very different contents to the Earth so far. We have always believed that these videos were made by aliens to intimidate the people on Earth. But, is it necessary for a spacecraft of a level 3 civilization to invade a level 1 civilization planet in this way? This remark awakened everyone. The faces of the supervisors at the round table all changed suddenly. Yeah. If I see an ant nest that is an eyesore, I will just crush it with my feet, and I won't go to the trouble of explaining to the ants how they will die. When Yuant looked puzzled and gave a cruel but real example. Could it be that for some reason they don't have the power to invade the Earth? Zia King frowned and put forward an idea that shocked everyone. For example, the alien spacecraft lacks energy, or is hit by a meteorite. As she said, she stood up excitedly. They are bluffing. They want the Earth to surrender without a fight. This remark once again sparked a heated discussion. If, as Zia King said, the alien spacecraft has lost its combat capability, then the Earth Defense Agency only needs to send out aerospace forces composed of the air forces of the 5 major countries to launch super rockets loaded with nuclear warheads at the alien spacecraft outside the atmosphere, and they can easily win. There will be no crisis of destruction for human civilization. Director, do we need to use carrier rockets to send nuclear warheads to the International Space Station immediately? Zhao Dong, who is in charge of the aerospace forces, took the initiative to stand up. He has always been puzzled. The alien spacecraft invasion is imminent, and the Earth Defense Agency has control over the rockets of various countries, but Liemo only ordered all rocket launches in the world to enter standby status. Boss, it will take a lot of time to transport all the nuclear warheads and super missiles to the International Space Station. Facing the excited executives, Liemo just closed his eyes and leaned back in his chair. The boss seemed to have other ideas. The discussion gradually became smaller. Hey, have you ever thought about it? When Yuunk on the side spoke again, if the alien spacecraft really lost its combat effectiveness, why would it fly to the Earth? Even if they intend to use the resources of the Earth to repair the spacecraft, why do they resort to intimidation? Are they really so naive as to think that they can make the Earth surrender with a few videos that are not thrilling? When Yuang's question was like a heavy hammer hitting everyone's heart, once, twice, 3 times. The good wishes that had just risen in everyone's hearts were smashed to pieces. The atmosphere became solemn again. Wugashi, who had been teasing the big yellow dog under the table with his fingers, raised his head at this time, and a little light flashed in his turbid eyes. "Oh, I didn't expect that. Less than a year has passed. Liemo, you are so lucky to find another young man who is not so confused." Finally couldn't help but speak. Liemo opened his eyes and stared at the skinny old man's scorched face. In order to bring this assistant to the Civilization Division back safely from the Gobi Desert, the Earth Protection Bureau specially dispatched a company of special forces and 5 helicopters. The seeds scattered in the field began to sprout. "Let me tell you a story that Da Huang would like to hear." Wugashi patted the big yellow dog's head. The insulted people were not unhappy at all, but pricked up their ears. Everyone knows that there are 3 ways to select court officials in the Tang dynasty, namely, imperial examination, recommendation, and recruitment, and family ties. Wugashi stood up and shook his head. "If you want to become an official, you must either write parallel 4 and 6 sentence articles, or have a good reputation. Of course, being born into a good family is enough for you to wear a robe." Is Wugashi telling history? Xia King blinked her big eyes. "But there is such a person with a bad reputation, who was born in a humble family and had no knowledge of articles, but could be the imperial censor, chief censor, and minister of the imperial household. This person is Lei Junshan, and his father Lei Ko was a professional gambler. One day, Lei Ko won the bet, but the other party had no money to give him, so he gave his pregnant wife to Lei Ko, and the child born was Lei Junshan. The historical books attributed his ability to gain the favor of Wu Zishan to his good at informing, which is actually a huge fallacy. Who was Wu Zishan? She was the only orthodox female emperor in Chinese history. She was extremely intelligent and knowledgeable, and had great talent in literature and history. How could she use a villain just because he was good at informing? Lei Junshan successfully caught Wu Zishan's attention by framing the governor Wang Zhu, but he was able to rise to prominence mainly because he had a deep understanding of human nature and was good at taking advantage of people's fear. Fear? Liemo's heart trembled, as if he had thought of something. How brutal was Lei Junshan's torture? The prisoners he imprisoned once begged, "As long as you don't torture me, you can kill my whole family." Lei Junshan invented 10 types of shackles and gave them different names: Dingbei, Bukabu, Sudahao, Zujichan, Shahundan, Shitonghan, Fanshishi, Susashao, Kyudachu, Kyujiabuksha. The reason why the historian Cheng Lei Junshan is so cruel is that he is a psychopath who enjoys torturing people and watching them suffer. But are there really people in the world who like to enjoy the painful and desperate groans of their fellow men under torture in a dark and corrupt prison? I don't think so. Lei Junshan did this just to complete the task assigned to him by his master. He knows what humans fear most. He knows that facing some prisoners who are not afraid of death, the fear brought by physical torture is far greater than death. After saying that, Wugashi sighed and sat back in his chair. This is more like a brief introduction of a historical figure than a story. Everyone fell into deep thought for a long time. "You mean, the aliens are testing?" When Yuang widened his eyes, and for the first time, a surprised expression appeared on his face. "Testing human reaction to these methods of destruction. They are going to choose a method that will cause the most pain to the Earthlings, to destroy the Earth. The answer has already appeared, and no matter how much discussion there is, it is useless." Liemo stood up and walked straight to the door, muttering to himself, "I'm the butcher and I have no choice whether to steam or grill the fish." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.